Good morning, everyone. How are you all doing? Let me get the links shared out and then bring up the game so we can get started. But I'm doing pretty good. And I should also make sure that the bot communicates on all channels. But things are good here. Yesterday I got a new album off of iTunes, and it was a bit earlier than I was expecting. I knew it was coming out this week, but I thought it was gonna be Saturday release, not not a Wednesday release, I should say, since it was released yesterday. And that was kind of interesting. I do kind of want to listen to it later. But I'm also wanting to get through more of this VN that I've been going through, so I thought I'd at least take care of this today. Not too sure I'll be finishing it, though. I will finish it quite soon, is my guess, but I don't know how much longer that I've got. So that's why there's a bit of a conundrum there. Alright. That's at least working. But yeah, I did kind of want to continue the visual novel that I've been going through because it's kind of getting interesting right now. Interesting enough that I can just put off the new album that I downloaded. Sure, I can listen to it on a music streaming service, but sometimes it's better to just get it in a way that's not locked into one of them, so that you can listen at your leisure and all that. So I got my message there. Alright, so now we've got my message, so I can do this quickly. And since I'm using my regular setup, there should be things I can avoid, since they're just done for me anyway. Okay, like that here. Okay, so He's probably not on, so that'll be fine. Okay, then we'll do that. This one's covered, yep. Alright. And then we do that. And here. But yeah. The album I got kind of continues a trend with that particular dev, and that we get the soundtracks before we actually get the games. But the game that the soundtrack is for, it might show up sooner than it typically has. And I say that because at this point in time, we are only one game behind what the Japanese release is. And Falcom does not necessarily have any other things on the agenda other than a new East 10 release. So all that's up to be seen is the new remake of Sky. Also, I'm sharing out the links, so let me get the game up. But yeah, and as I believe I said before, the Trails in the Sky remake doesn't interest me too much. They've got some nice stuff in there, like 3D animated recreations of memorable scenes and that. But we don't need that. Just bring over the original. Anyway, here we are. Good morning, everyone. As I was saying earlier about the Trails in the Sky remake, I don't think Falcom should have done anything since we got the Crossbell arc, and that really showed that they could just port what they got to modern consoles and be done with it. Sure, the Crossbell arcs aren't Crossbell re-releases aren't entirely one-to-one what they were originally, because there were some little things added in to make them a bit better. But come on, if you guys can do that, just do that with Trails in the Sky trilogy. But for now, let's get to this VN. Because I am interested in it, like I said, and if you guys don't like visual novels, then now is your time to leave. Let's see, outside, the wind blew fiercely. I borrowed a raincoat, but it didn't do anything. I felt like I had gone swimming in my clothes. I walked without being able to see anything. A strong gust of wind knocked me off balance. Ah, that was it. Or so I thought until Leland caught me. How could you say you'd go when you're such a mess? Shut up. Leland was nonchalant amid the typhoon. She didn't even pretend to take some protection from the wind. Having magic was so unfair. We finally arrived at the storehouse. It was more a shed than a storehouse. It was no larger than 9 by 18 feet. Hold on. Alright, looks like I'm good. I wonder where the candles could be. I ran my phone along the high shelves. It moderately lit the area. There were logs and charcoal for barbecuing, bicycles, and boxes filled with unknown contents. There didn't seem to be any organization, so all we could do was fumble around looking. Because it was so narrow, Leland was very close to me. We opened boxes back to back. Fortunately, the wind was noisy, so the silence wasn't awkward. I came here to run away from Leland. However, a wicked God had seen through that plan. Heaven was punishing me, sticking me in a small shed with the very person I was trying to escape from. Hey, about earlier. Which thing? About the punishment game, why couldn't you do it? Straight to the point. I was embarrassed, obviously. That's it. Yeah. Well, could you do it here? Could you do the punishment game if no one was looking? I don't know. Look at me. She forced me to turn around. Suddenly, I was looking into Leland's eyes. The rain was dripping off her wet hair. Her wet clothes stuck to her skin. I could see the outlines of her bra and underwear. Even though I couldn't see well, just that much was too suggestive for me. I couldn't look at her. I looked out into the dark. Don't look away. You idiot, I can see through your clothes. I don't mind. I do. Let's look further in. I moved further into the shed to get away from Leland. I ran into something with a big thunk. Something had been sticking out at face height and I ran right into it. Leland supported me while I staggered. What was that about? Sorry. How did you hit your head? Don't you look where you're going? I can't see in the dark. Dark? Leland had an odd tone of voice. Isn't it bright enough? It isn't. All we've got is my phone's light. I've been using my magic to make it brighter. It's like daytime. I was at a loss for words. I replied in a calm voice, I guess it's bright. It is. Yeah, it is. I wonder why I ran into something. How weird. I kept mumbling how weird as I fumbled my way further in. Well, how's this? Should I adjust the brightness? I think it's okay as is. Can you see my hands waving? How could I not see them in this tiny shed? I laughed and I did it off. I'm not waving my hands. Her voice was cold. There was nothing for me to say. You're hiding something. What do you mean, something? This whole thing is weird, bumping into stuff right in front of you, saying it's dark when it's light, saying my hands are waving. Just some mistakes, alright? Coincidences happen. Okay, how many fingers am I holding up? She's catching him. 3. 10, I'm using both hands.
光はもしかして。
Hey, Hikaru. Who could it be? What is
目
it?
が見えないの。
You can't see? As intuitive as
普
ever.
段は見えているでしょ。買い物に行く時も見えていたわ。遠くの景色も光は好きだった。
You usually can, can't you? You could see when you went shopping and you like looking at faraway scenery too. You've observed me
なんで
well.
今は見えないの。
So why can't you now? I don't
ご
know.
まかさないで。
Don't lie to me. I really don't. Sat down on the floor of the storehouse. My wet butt touched the floor. It felt muddy. I opened and closed my hand in front of my face. I couldn't see anything. It was just as Leland said. I couldn't see anything right now. My vision narrowed when I saw her exposed underwear, but now all I could see was darkness. Since when? Leland sat opposite me. The earthy scent mixed with the sweet smell of makeup. Ever since I was a kid, sometimes my field of vision would narrow and then I could only see in a limited range. A curse? Close. There are certain conditions that must be met for me to lose my sight.
条件って。
Conditions? It's when I get close to someone. I kept my words vague. To be precise, it's when I get close to someone I like. I first noticed it when I was in elementary school. At the time, there was a girl I was friends with in my class. I think we were both aware of it. It was probably love on both sides. When we moved seats around, I sat next to her and it got me all excited every day. Her smile was so bright and her words even hinted at some kind of favor toward me. But then one day it all changed. It was during PE. We were learning to dance, so we split into pairs of girls and boys. The whole class danced in a circle, and after dancing one measure, we'd switch partners and dance with someone new. The song wasn't long, so it wasn't possible to dance with all the girls. I eagerly awaited my turn to dance with the girl I liked. While dancing, I prayed that the magic would never end. Soon my turn to dance with the girl I liked came. Ah, Nishime, good to see you. The only time she smiled was when she danced with me. I returned her smile and grabbed her hand. A strange thing happened in an instant. My field of vision went black and I could barely see anything. With each step, my vision narrowed. I couldn't see her face, the hands I held, or her feet. Naturally, I couldn't dance either. Teacher, Nishime says he can't see. I was taken to the school infirmary. Then I went to the hospital and underwent several tests. Because they couldn't find anything wrong with my eyes, I even got a brain scan. My aunt scolded me when I got home. Was given a sound beating. Apparently I'd bothered her by causing trouble. Fortunately, my eyesight came back a few hours later. There were no after effects, but the cause remained unknown. Eventually, they determined it was a psychological illness. The doctor inquired quite persistently about the details, but I didn't tell him the truth. If I said too much and it became a big deal, my aunt would hit me again. That was scarier than being blind. After my sight returned, I changed my lifestyle. I didn't get close to the girl I liked. I thought I might not be able to see again. And it might not come back next time. I couldn't stop the fear. I think it was a kind of trauma. So, as I became colder, we drifted further and further apart. After we wound up in different classes, we never spoke to each other again. That was my first episode. Well, and that's why I go blind sometimes, and if I wait A bit my sight will probably come back, but it's still scary. It makes me panic.
そんな大切なこと、どうして黙ってたのよ。
Why didn't you tell me about something so important? If I went out of my way to tell you, it'd feel like asking for pity. I don't want
どう
that.
したら治るの？
What's the cure? I don't know. It was psychological in origin. You might need a therapist here to help navigate why this is happening. Because he's likely got mental trauma, but I don't know about anything like this stuff. But then again, there's a lot that I don't know. I just know that psychological things can indeed do things like this. I just haven't heard of this particular kind of thing happening. But there was more than one cause. There were so many things wrong with me, it was hard to narrow it down. In the first place, there were my parents. When I was 5, they both died in an accident. Miraculously, I was the only one to survive. The rescue made the news, but I didn't remember any of it. I only had fragmentary memories of my parents. The doctor explained to me that the shock from the accident sealed my memories. But even without them, I still had scars in my heart. Rather, it's probably because the spiritual damage would be so great that my body decided to erase the memories. Another reason I could think of was my aunt. Her family reluctantly took me in after the accident left me orphaned. I had no other relatives. My aunt always favored my cousin. I was 5, old enough to want someone to spoil me. But my aunt never did. I could remember 10 abusive episodes without thinking too hard. There's no use trying to figure out which of these things is the cause, because even if I knew, it wouldn't solve anything. I've looked into ways to cure it. I read in some books to imagine a scary scene and remind your body that nothing will happen to desensitize it. But it must be difficult if so many doctors specialize in it and not something you can do on your own. I don't have the money for a doctor, though.
何もしなければ、ずっとそのままじゃない。
If you don't do anything, you'll just stay like this. But I can get by as long as I avoid triggering it, right? You can, but you're just running away. You're not solving the problem. I tried to grow up quickly. Adulthood, in other words, learning to give up. And that's something that annoys me right there. Those words right there, adulthood, in other words, learning to give up. It is important to know when to give up in that, but a lot of my elders, they give up too quickly and such. Like, they just say, that's the way things are when it comes to problems of society, and that's only a good excuse when you're referring to nature, not human society. I gave up on making connections with others and took care to temper my expectations. That's probably why my instincts warned me whenever I made the mistake of falling in love. There's no use relying on the kindness of others. It was the only maxim that hadn't betrayed me, so it wasn't that odd my brain became wired that way. It was natural even. I got into the habit of keeping others at a distance. I made an effort to avoid talking to anyone I fancied. I just watched from afar. Thanks to all that, the symptoms subsided. I thought that I was cured. I really did. I relapsed because I was stupid. I'm not as smart as I think I am. I became closer to Leland. I just couldn't leave her alone considering her situation. What else should I have done? Tried to help while looking for ways to prevent the disorder from appearing?
その方法って私に冷たくすること？
Is that why you're cold to me? At first I was. At first our relationship was practical, so much that scared me. I should have kept it that way, but leaving high school, working, all those anxieties piling up made me emotionally unstable. I wanted human connection.
ヒカルは私に優しくしたの。
And that's why you're so soft towards me? It's not that. It's because common sense from where you're from is much different than in Japan.
なら、私は結局、ヒカルが好きになったと思う。
And to think in the end I like you. Don't say such embarrassing things out of the blue.
本当だから。
But it's true. I'm not good with someone being so straightforward. My heart felt like it was being stepped on. What if I stayed blind forever? I had to change the subject to avoid thinking about it. Hey, do you remember when Akari tricked me into going to the beach with you?
覚えてる。すごくドキドキしたわ。
I do. I was so nervous. That was actually the start of it.
あの時、見えてなかったの？
Could you not see then? Midway through, it had been such a long time. I didn't know that was happening at first. I couldn't see a thing, so all I could do was just stand
そ
there.
れで曇ってたのに、いい天気なんて言ったのね。
So you said it was a beautiful day when it was overcast. That was just something random I said. I was excited, but when I lost my sight, I thought, here it comes again. My body was trying to tell me, remember, you have no right to do that.
視覚って何の？
Right to do what? Crap, I can't believe I just let it slip like that. But it needed to be said. You know, 'cause I and you, that, the right to, fall in love.
難しく考えすぎだと思うけど。
You're overthinking this. And anyway, I was scared, so I ran. I'm sorry, though. It's a bit late for an
確
apology.
かに遅いわね。
Quite late.
今も見えないの？
Hey, can you still not see? There's no difference between my eyes being open or
私
closed.
はここにいるわ。
I'm right here. That's
だ
why.
ったら、離れてほしい。
So, do you want me to leave? It was an unusually timid question, but I was able to read the hidden meaning in those words. If possible, I would have liked to never talk about it. But she brought it up. This was the final question. Stop her or not? What happened if I did? Leland wouldn't fulfill her mission. I'd be blind. An unfortunate future. If I didn't, it'd be the opposite. What would happen? I stopped myself from thinking about it. I lost sight of what I was thinking of. I wasn't good at making decisions, or rather, I didn't have any experience doing so. In my life, no one had ever let me decide anything. Decisions were always made for me by others. I'd just goof around and do what I was told. I didn't know how to do anything else. At this point, nothing I'd decide upon would go well. There was just no way. That's right. It's best if you go back to the villa before me. I'll follow you later. In my answer, I pretended not to understand her question. I could hear a sharp intake of breath next to me.
わかったわ。私は先に戻る。目が見えるようになったら戻ってきて。
I understand. I'll go back first. Come back when you can see again. Her warmth disappeared from beside me, a sign that she had stood up. She started walking toward the storehouse door. Her footsteps faded away. Was this for the best? I questioned myself. My body moved on its own against my will. Don't go. Please don't go anywhere. I flew toward the door. My outstretched hand accidentally touched Leland's. Yeah, alright. I read that right. I grabbed it hard. I mustn't let go, I thought. A cardboard box collapsed behind me. I stumbled since I was still blind. Stay here, please don't go back. The words came out on their own. This wasn't like me at all, but maybe these were my true feelings. I suddenly felt her squeezing my hand back. She placed her other hand on my head.
先に戻るって言っただけなんだけど。
Didn't you say to go back before you? I'm saying I don't want you to go back to your hometown, not because there's nothing there for you, but because I don't want you to.
知ってるわ。そういう意味だってこと。
I know, I knew what you meant. Huh?
光の真似。すぐにはぐらかそうとするんだもの。
I was being like you, you're always so quick to run away. Leland was smiling. I could tell. And why? I felt all my strength leave my body. Leland pulled me up off the
も
floor.
う少しだけ。残ってもいいと思える事情ができたわ。
A certain situation has come up that's made me willing to stay just a little longer. Situation?
光の目を直すこと。治るまではいてあげる。
Hearing your eyes, I'll stay until you're healed. You have an
鍛え
idea?
れば治るわ。
I'll train you until you're better. You're a demon. My response was disdainful, but inside I was worn out. However, after that, I now had to reflect upon my behavior. More accurately, I had nothing but areas to reflect on. I wasn't the most complimentary or sincere type, and I wasn't good at facing things head on. The exact opposite of Leland. I really wanted to look at her face. What kind of expression was she making right now? But that wasn't going to happen for the time
大
being.
丈夫？
Are you okay? Just give me time, I'm at my limit. It must have been from overexerting myself. My vision didn't return, my heart began pounding, and my breath became short. I could feel my whole body shutting down. A headache came on and I felt nauseous.
仕方ないから待っていてあげる。
I can't just leave you like this, so I'll wait here with you. Leland propped me against a wall. I felt a little better, but as long as she was around, I wouldn't be able to see. It was possible it never returned. I was both sad and anxious. Even if that was the case, I got something out of this. I displayed my will, for the first time in my life, just like Leland always told me. What do you want to do? And that is kind of a deep question. It's why I like posing that to people when they come to me with their problems and such. Sometimes I know what it is that they want, and other times I don't, but all the same I try to get them to focus on what they want. I was finally able to answer that question. I had a feeling I had taken the important first step toward curing my psychological disorder. But when I thought about it, I said so many embarrassing things. My face heated up. Even if you could call it facing something, my actions were still embarrassing. But today was the beginning. And it was all thanks to Leland. However, I wondered what they'd say when we got back. I was concerned about that too. Afterward, we found the candles and also some extra rain gear. Then, thanks to us being in the eye of the typhoon, the wind was much weaker on the return journey than before. I still couldn't see, but I didn't fall because Leland was leading me by the hand. When I got back to the living room, I was met with stiffingly hot air. The air conditioning had been cut off, so the room's temperature had risen.
無事だったんだ。遅いから心配したんだよ。
Oh good, you're alright. You were taking so long I was getting worried. Iga, who appeared to have sobered up, greeted us. As I wiped my head with the towel handed to me, I felt a piercing gaze.
随分
々と時間がかかりましたね、西目さん。一体倉庫でどのようなアドベンチャーがあったのか、あかりにちょっとだけ教えてくれませんか？
You sure took a long time, Nishime. I can't help but wonder what kind of adventure you had out there. Would you mind telling me a bit about it? And I want to punch you in the face, Akari.
その話は私も気になりますわね。片道10メートルもない場所に行って狭い倉庫からろうそくを取り出すだけなのに、なぜ小1時間もかかるのかしら？
I'm also curious. It's no more than 30 feet from the house, and you were only in there to get candles, so why on earth did you take an hour?
なんだ？倉庫ってのはそんなにヤバいところだったのか？
Did something crazy happen in there?
それ、わざとやってますよね。あかりがマジになっているというのに、突然空気読めないキャラをパクるのやめてくれませんか？
Are you doing this on purpose? I'm being serious, and so you swoop in and still I can't read the room
そうですわ。金城は少し黙っていていただけませんこと？
That's right. Won't you shut it, Kaneshiro?
まあまずは無事に帰ってきたことを喜ぼうよ。
Now, we should just be thankful they've come back unharmed. Akari had excellent intuition and was cross-examining us, but Higa stepped in.
月夜の晩ばかりだとは思わないことですね。
Can't keep me in the dark forever. Maybe, but the typhoon can. We lit the candles and set them out. The living room got a bit brighter, apparently.
おお、これは綺麗ですね。
Ah, this is so
暑
pretty.
いのさえ我慢すれば、ロマンチックな感じになりますね。
Ah, this is so pretty. If I could stand the heat, it'd even feel romantic.
そうか。俺には闇の儀式が執り行われるようにしか見えん。
That right. To me, it looks like some dark ritual is gonna be performed.
金城はちょっとロマンスを理解する心が足りないのではなくて？
Could it be you have little understanding of romance, Kaneshiro?
キリコ、こいつはわざとわからないふりをしているんです。騙されてはいけませんよ。
No, Kiriko, this is pretending not to understand on purpose. Don't be fooled.
暑いから氷持ってきたよ。これで涼もう。
It's really hot, so I brought some ice over. That'll cool us down. Higa brought back plastic bags filled with ice. You could put them on your forehead or drink it when it melted. It was a must-have item for hot
で
weather.、
西目さん、罰ゲーム覚えてますか？
Nishime, do you remember the punishment game? Akari brought it up again. Do you not have any appreciation for me going to get candles in the middle of a
あ
storm?
かりは罪は必ず罰せられるべきであり、いかなる事情があっても免罪や恩赦は許されないという思想を持っています。
My ideology is that crime always deserves punishment, and no matter the circumstance, I tolerate no acquittal or amnesty. So rigid.
ゆえに、西目さんは罰ゲームを実行しなければならないのです。
Therefore, Nishime, you must carry out the punishment
本
game.
件に関しては私も同意見とさせていただこうかしら。なんだか雰囲気も変わったようですし。
In this instance, I agree with you. Somehow the atmosphere around here it has changed.
罰ゲームを強要するなんてよくないよ。どうしてみんなそんなことするの？
You shouldn't force a punishment game. Why are you all going so
おめえ
far?
は黙ってろ。あと、今後絶対酒を飲むな。
Can it you? After this, you're never drinking again.
どうして私が怒られるの？
What? Why are you mad at me? The peer pressure increased. There was no escape. I don't have the will to.
できる？
Can you do it? Leland addressed her concerned question to me. The situation was obvious now, so there was no way to hide it. Oh, alright. It wouldn't be all bad since I couldn't see. That reduced the embarrassment by half. Alright. If I do it, you'll be happy, right?
シューシュー。
Woot woot. With screams from the peanut gallery, Leland and I faced each other. Why am I nervous? What a discovery. I can still be nervous even if I can't see. Right here. With Leland's guidance, I wrapped my arms around her waist. She was more slender than I ever imagined. Still heading, I slid my hands along her back. Her sweet-smelling hair was right under my nose. Something soft pressed against my chest. But these are her oh my gosh. It's no use. Nausea rose within me and I separated our bodies after 5 seconds. Heart pounding, shortness of breath, dizziness, depression. I was hit with all the symptoms. My wonderful dream seems very far away. Dang, I wanted to enjoy that more, but I had to puke. I could have been the unhappiest person in the world. Whoa! Alright, let's drink. You're the only one drinking alcohol, Higa. And 2, you might die of poisoning. I said you weren't drinking. There's no way I'm gonna stop. Higa pulled a bottle out from nowhere and pandemonium broke loose. In an instant, a drunk Higa knocked out Kaneshiro, and then she, Akari, and Goldilocks surrounded Leland and me. Then came a storm of questions. With how rapidly they came, the storm rivaled the typhoon outside. Before long, my psychological damage had hit critical mass, and I was on my last breath. But Leland was like a bodyguard, deflecting every question that came our way. How boring. You have to tell us later, promise. I promise, but not right now. If not now, then when? I don't believe you. Remember that even after the typhoon has passed, tropical storm Akari will come again and again. Oh my gosh.
金城が気絶したまま起きないのだけれど、大丈夫かしら?
Kaneshiro is still unconscious and hasn't woken up. I hope he's alright. Until the candles burned out, it was a sweaty and hazy evening. But it was also one I'd never forget. Eventually, listening carefully, I noticed the sound of the wind had faded. Before I knew it, the typhoon had passed on. To put it frankly, nights without air conditioner are hell. It was something between a dream and reality as I dimly watched night give way to dawn. The sun rose, it grew hotter, and I gave up on sleep. I held my hand in front of my face and opened and closed it. Yes, I could see. As I expected, my sight returned after time passed. I wasn't optimistic, but at least I wasn't feeling pessimistic either. For now, it was fine. I unfolded a fan and headed for the living room. My throat was so dry. Morning. Good morning. Leland and Goldilocks were in the living room. Both of them were sweating so much even their hair was damp. But their faces looked oddly refreshed. Aren't you guys hot? We took a shower. It feels great, and it really wakes you up. Ah, that's what it was. Fortunately, the water hadn't been cut off. I went to the bathroom and spent so long in a cold shower I thought it was going to freeze. So when I came back to the living room and the heat and humidity felt good. The human body is easily tricked. Still no
そう
electricity?
簡単には復旧しないと思いますわよ。電線が切れたかもしれませんし。
It's not that simple a fix. The power lines themselves are cut. So no air conditioning.
おっす。お前ら早いな。
Yo, you guys are up early.
暑いですね。
It's so hot. Kanashiro and Akari came in, making small talk. They slumped into the couch as they complained. Last was Higa. Her appearance was very striking because censored. Oh my gosh! Wonder what's going on here. Was it because of the rain?
ちょっと比嘉さん、はだけすぎですよ。隠して。
Higa, we can see way too much. Cover up. What was that? I didn't have enough life experience to unravel this riddle.
朝ごはん、何がいい？
What do you guys want for breakfast? Apparently it was Leland's turn in the kitchen this morning. Miso soup and
コーン
rice.
スープです。
Corn soup.
私、朝はクロックマダムと決めているんですの。
I always have a croquette madam in the morning.
俺はブラッドオレンジジュースしか飲まねえ。
I want to drink blood orange juice.
アイス食べたい。
I want ice cream. Ice cream isn't filling.
見事にバラバラね。
What a motley crew.
比嘉は何を考えているの？アイスの材料なんてあるわけないでしょ。
But more than that, Higa, what are you thinking? You think we have the ingredients for ice cream? She asked that like we could make it if we did have the ingredients. Or maybe she could with magic. Don't you think we should base our requests on what we already have? We used up a lot of stuff
冷蔵し
yesterday.
ないといけないものは使い切りましたよ。
I used everything that needed refrigeration. So all we had left was dried food. Without electricity, we couldn't use the fridge or the rice cooker. Of course, toast was also out of the question.
でね。
I'm out of ideas. Leland quickly threw in the towel. Suddenly a light went off in my head. You know yesterday we bought that stuff.
朝からジャンクフードとは不健康の極みですわね。
Eating junk food first thing in the morning is the most unhealthy idea I can think
私
of.
はこういうのも合宿っぽくて楽しいと思うけどな。
I think that kind of thing is part of the fun of a sleepover. They say eating junk food in the morning is not good, and that kind of reminds me of the hilarity that pizza is junk food. I'm not too sure they have pizza, but this is just what's coming to my mind. Pizza's junk food, and yet it's the healthiest thing you can have for breakfast.
あかりも初めてですが、西目さんは普段からこういうことをしているんですか？
I've never done that before, but do you do that often, Nishime? I didn't have luxuries like that often. I wouldn't buy them unless I stayed over
これ
somewhere.
はいらぬことを聞いてしまいましたね。
That's not what I expected to hear. We settled on having cup ramen in the sweltering living room. I bought it as backup when I went shopping. We couldn't heat the kettle without power, but with gas and magic we boiled the
それ
water.
にしても、昨日の夜はあちあちでしたね。
Come to think of it, it was super hot last night. Akari brought up the memory. Yeah, I couldn't sleep at all.
西目さんとリルーさんのあちあちガチ法要にあかりは恥ずかしくなって一晩中もだえてしまいました。
Thanks to you and Leland's steamy embrace, I was so embarrassed. I was in agony all night long over it.
恥ずかしいのはお前もだっただろうが。
You-
あと急に真面目な話を始めやがったじゃねえか。
You yourself got all embarrassed too. You started talking all serious right after.
その話はなしです。あれはちょっとトランス状態になっていたので口走ってしまっただけなんです。
Let's not talk about that. I was just saying stuff because I was in a bit of a trance.
赤積あかりの日本一声優になる宣言。私、図らずも感動してしまいましたわ。
When
きっとどんな役もこなしてみせるんでしょうね。
When Akatsumi declared she would be Japan's #1 voice actor, I was unexpectedly moved. Oh, I'm sure she'll be splendid in any role she
そういう
gets.
キリコだって最強社長になるって宣言してたじゃないですか。
That's right, Kiriko. You said you were going to be the strongest president. It got noisy. I didn't see it so long, I don't know. But I heard that the living room had an extraordinary atmosphere decorated with the candles. Inspired by the air of excitement, Akari and Goldilocks talked about their dreams for the future. Content aside, both of them were very serious. What happens next? I asked, ignoring my
解散
embarrassment.
ということになりますけれど、船はまだ動いていないようですから、急ぐほどではありませんわね。
I'd say we go our separate ways, but the ships aren't running yet, so there's no
片
hurry.
付けをしないといけないんじゃないの？
Shouldn't we be tidying up? That's fair. We were given a place to stay. It was only fair to help clean up. Not to mention all the stuff left from the typhoon. The yard was in a sorry state with broken branches everywhere and heaps of
手
trash.
伝っていただけるのでしたら助かりますわ。
It'd be great if you could lend a hand. It's better to get these things done in the cool of the
あ
morning.
なた、時々内地のご老人のようなことを言いますわね。
You sound like
午
an
中でも昼間でも暑いですわよ。
you sound like an old man from the mainland. Sometimes it's hot in the morning and in the afternoon here. Lay off, leave me alone. We restored the weatherproofed windows. We tore off the plywood we nailed in and set it out to dry. We collected the trash that had fallen onto the deck and set up the wooden chairs and the barbecue grill once again. Because there was no power, we could only do light cleaning inside with a broom and dustpan. Once we'd collected the trash, we were done. The trash scattered around the cottage. It was, of course, too much for us to deal with on our own. According to Goldilocks, cleaning company would come by later. By the time we were done cleaning, the sun had passed its zenith. Around the same time, power was restored, and we all gave thanks for air conditioning. I checked my phone, and it seemed they were opening the ferry back up for evening trips. I was free until then, but I'd be a baller if I stayed in the villa the whole time. As we took away the trash, we went our separate ways. Well, see you.
ええ、また。私はしばらくのんびりしてから帰りますわ。
Yes, see you later. I'll be taking my time heading home. Kaneshiro rode off on his motorcycle and Higa walked to her place. Akari had a dance lesson today, so she took a taxi to the studio. Because Leela and I had no money, we walked with Higa down the mountain road. At the base, it split off into two. Higa went right, we went left.
じゃあね。
Bye! We waved goodbye to each other. Now then, I'm hungry. We hadn't eaten lunch. However, all that was in front of me were peaceful fields and mountain trails. We passed by many restaurants, none of which had been open yesterday. I found a snug little shop along the way. If we missed this chance, we probably wouldn't have lunch, so I bought two. There was nowhere that was doing dine-in, so we had to search for a place to eat. It doesn't have to be air-conditioned, but let's at least eat in the
そ
shade.
んな都合のいい場所があるとは思えないけどね。
It doesn't look like there's anywhere to do that. There were a few more houses there, but it was still mostly fields and mountain trails. It was a long way to the harbor, and there wasn't anywhere to cool off in town. because business would be closed today. Shall we go back to the
キリコ
villa?
の分は買わなくていいかしら？
Why don't we buy lunch for Kiriko too? Perfect, let's do that and go back. With lunch for 3, we headed back the way we came. We were drenched in sweat as we climbed the mountain and we wanted water more than lunch. I rang the doorbell and Goldilocks appeared. I bought lunch, we have some time, so let's have lunch
あなた
together.
たちもですのね。
You guys too, huh? Goldilocks seemed to raise her shoulders in surprise. What did that
実
mean?
際に見た方が早いですわ。昼食会場はそこですわよ。
It'll be faster if you come and see. Here's where we're having lunch. She showed us to the patio. She wanted us to eat in this heat. She wanted us to eat in this heat. Goldilocks looked even more sadistic than I thought. Half in despair, I followed her. There, an amazing sight waited for me.
なんだ結局お前らも戻ってきたのか。
You guys are finally back.
あかりはそのことすら見越して食材を調達しましたからね。まさに慶願と言えるでしょう。
I saw this coming and even brought ingredients. I truly am amazing. Cheryl and Akari were seated in the yard. A folding table was filled with seafood, including shrimp and scallops. Next to that was the grill. Cheryl was lighting the coals, and Akari was putting the seafood on the skewers. They were full of the barbecue spirit. Since when have you been planning this?
帰る途中で腹が減るだろう。だが飯屋は閉まってる。空いてたのは肉屋だけで。じゃあ焼いて食うかって思ったわけだ。
I got hungry on my way home, you know. When all the restaurants are closed, I found an open butcher shop and thought, let's grill. So why did you buy this
ど
much?
うせ戻ってくると思ったからな。
Because I knew you'd be back. What amazing foresight. He ended up being completely right about that. What about you, Akari? Don't you have dance
そのよう
lessons?
なものですよ。
My story is
レ
similar.
ッスンに行く前にお昼ご飯を食べなければなりませんが、適当な店が見つからなかったので、その市場で魚介を買ってバーベキューとしゃれ込もうと思ったわけです。
I had to eat lunch before that, but couldn't find anywhere to. Then I decided to pick up some seafood at the local market and have a barbecue. You're definitely skipping, isn't this playing hooky?
まあまあ、あかりくらいの天才になると、一日くらいサボっても大丈夫なんですよ。
Don't worry, I'm a genius. I can skip a day, no
と
problem.
いうか、合宿の目的はあかりのために思い出を作ることだったはずです。幸せな扱いをされていないので、大変不満です。
Besides, this sleepover was to create memories with me, so there's no going to be there's going to be big trouble if you don't do what the big star wants. Speaking of memories, where's the woman who came up with it? Has anyone contacted
一度電
Higa?
話しましたが、出ませんでしたね。あの人はぽやぽやしてるから気づかなさそうですよね。
I tried calling her, but she didn't pick up. She's so ditzy she probably didn't notice. What a shame. If we're going all out, I'd like her to be here with us. As that thought went through my head, a voice called out from the mountain trail.
キリコちゃん、おばあちゃんに野菜もらったからお裾分け一緒に食べよう。
Kiriko, Granny gave me some veggies, so let's eat them together. We all thought alike. We all came back one by one. Goldilocks was okay with it. With everyone assembled, we started the barbecue. We grilled skewers filled with things everyone had
それ
bought.
にしても金城が肉であかりが魚比嘉が野菜でしょ。
Let's see.
偶然にしては出来すぎじゃない？
Let's see. Kaneshiro brought meat, Akari fish, and Higa veggies. Isn't this too big of a
運
coincidence?
命が俺たちを導いてるってことだな。俺はただ突然バーベキューがしたくなっただけだ。
Isn't it just fate guiding us? Me, I just suddenly wanted to
私も
barbecue.
ですよ。市場を見てピンときました。
Same here, I was in the market and it just hit
私
me.
は家にお野菜があったからかな。
I just had some veggies at home.
それで私の別荘でバーベキューをするという発想になりましたわね。
I too had an idea of having a barbecue at the villa.
私は信じないわ。これは仕組まれたものよ。
I won't believe it. This must have been planned. The grill was in the hallway the entire time, right? I think since we were all looking at it, we all remembered at the same time. Don't they call that imprinting?
理由なんてどうだっていいよ。みんな同じことをたまたま思って偶然同じ場所に集まった。そう考えた方がさ、素敵じゃない？
Why does it matter? We all thought of the same thing and coincidentally gathered in the same place. Isn't it nicer to think that way?
ああ、酔ってない比嘉さんは素で恥ずかしいことを言うんですね。
Wow, Higa can even say such cliche lines sober.
でも、あかり、今のはちょっと気に入りましたよ。
But I do wonder about it a little. Yesterday our requests were all over the place, but we all thought of the same thing this time. Like he said, maybe he was guided by
私
fate.
たちが買った弁当は仲間外れなのよね。
The lunches we bought don't fit in.
まあまあ、白米が足りないのは事実ですし、そのおかずも副菜としてちょうど良い具合ですよ。
Now,
そ
now,
れ
it
の込みで運命ということにしましょう。
now, it's true there isn't enough rice for everyone, but with the other dishes included, it rounds out the meal nicely. This was also guided by fate.
そうだよ。こういうのは言ったもん勝ちだからね。
That's right, put it that way and it still makes sense. What an agreeable kind of fate. Maybe what we call fate really is just a set of convenient circumstances.
ああ、そのお肉は私が焼いてたのに。
Hey, I was cooking that meat.
ちょっと赤積あかり。ホタテばかり食べるのはずるいですわよ。
Wait a second, Akari Kitsumi. You've been eating all the scallops. That's not fair.
俺は血が滴るような肉でないと食わない主義でね。
I don't eat meat unless it's dripping blood. Hey, Leland, you only eat meat, right?
そう。気のせいじゃないかしら。
Is that so? I think you're imagining things. All in all, we enjoyed the barbecue. After we filled our bellies, we played beach volleyball and split some watermelons. Both were included in the summertime fun collection that Higa brought. That's for the beach. Also included were sparklers, but since we couldn't stay until night to see them, we lit them in broad daylight.
花火って太陽の下でやると見えないんだ。
Wow, you can't see sparklers in the sun. I think that's kind of obvious.
冒涜的な遊び方ですわね。情緒のかけらもありませんわ。
What an indecent way to use them. There's not a shred of emotion in this.
一工夫しなければ楽しめませんね。
You gotta be creative to enjoy it.
やあやあ、我こそは島で最も可愛い美少女あかり。
Yay, yay,
尋常に
yay, yay. Here I am, Akari, the cutest beauty on the island. Have at me. You dummy. Didn't anyone ever teach you not to swing sparklers around? We were supposed to cool off, but we ended up getting rowdy under the sun. It was so hot I could die. However, time passed and the time came to split up again. Ferry services had resumed and we even found out when it'd be leaving for Toyotoki Island. With the end clearly in sight, we had no choice but to go for it.
本当に楽しかった。またこんな風に集まれたらいいね。
This was so fun. We should do this
あか
again.
りは東京に行ってしまうので、それが叶うことは永遠にないのでした。
I'm going to Tokyo, so that'll never
あ
happen.
なた、それ自分で行って楽しいんですの？飛行機で1日なのだから帰ってくればいいでしょ？
Didn't you yourself say you enjoyed it? Why don't you fly back for a
お
day?
やおや、キリコはあかりに帰ってきてほしいんですか？そうなんですか？
My, oh my, are you saying you want me to come back, Kiriko? Is that it?
誰が帰ってきてほしいなんて言いまして？帰ってこなくて構いませんわ。
Who said they wanted you to come back? I don't care if you do.
喧嘩すんじゃねえよ。最後くらいいい感じに締めろ。
Don't fight, let's end on a good note.
そういう金城さんはリルーさんと仲直りしたんですか？
Speaking of which, why don't you make up with Leland and
して
Kaneshiro?
いないわ。こいつは永久に分かり合うことのできない敵よ。
There's no need, he's an enemy I will never
い
understand.
やいやリルーさん、今はそう思うかもしれませんが、実はですね、昨日の晩何があったかを説明すると、
No, no, you might think that now, but let me explain. Last night
や
he...
めとけ。野暮なことは言うな。
Stop, don't be so tactless.
いいんですか？
You're okay with that? Kaneshiro nodded silently at Akari's query. Something must have happened. Leland was also curious.
まあまあ、みんな楽しかったってことで、これで合宿は終わり。いい思い出ができて、私は嬉しかったよ。
Now, everyone had fun. The sleepover is over. We made some good memories, so I'm happy.
それじゃ、解散。
Alright, time to go. At Higa's signal, we all headed back home. I felt extremely reluctant to part. On the way, I kept thinking about the events of last night. They really were good memories. It'd be nice to do this kind of thing again. I couldn't help but think that. Ten days later. Simple magic, incanted magic, ritual magic. Those were the three broad categories of Leland's abilities. The first two were for daily use. The other was the kind that aided Akari and Higa. Powerful ritual magic needed a sacrifice and a catalyst. The sacrifice was the price to borrow magic from the powerful ones. The catalyst bonded the magic and its target. It could be anything as long as it created a bond. Right now, my underwear was sitting on a silver tray. An extraordinary ritual was going to manifest using my dingy underwear. In the face of something so bizarre, I couldn't say anything. Why was this happening? It was from a conversation we had this morning.
最近眠れないの。
I haven't been sleeping well lately. Leland said that as we sat down for breakfast. She'd been looking tired for the past few days. Her complexion was sickly and she didn't seem to have much of an appetite. What again?
悪夢がひどくて。
I've been having horrible nightmares. What kind?
鎖で繋がれて逃げられなくて。黒い人影がちょっとずつ近づいてきてて。
I'm in chains and I can't escape. Shadowy humanoid figures come closer and closer. You have any idea who these dark figures are?
人ではないと思う。
No, just that they're not human. Something inhuman then? Huh? Yeah, I read that right. I don't know. If I saw them, I'd probably know what they... Well, I'd probably know what they are.
できるわよ。
You can. Huh? First off, I'm not a dream specialist. I've just had more experience with nightmares than the average person. However, when I said that, I meant it as a lip service. However, she's a witch. I wanted to curse anyone. No, if I wanted to curse anyone, it should be myself for such a careless remark. And now we found ourselves here. The ritual was successful and we could share dreams. Sleep here, she told me, so I slept in the hallway. Before I knew it, I was behind the hotel. For some reason, that was what she was dreaming of. I was sprawled out in a beach chair, watching everyone hurriedly rush to work around me. Bliss. Dreams could grant what would never happen in reality.
これがあんたの夢。
Is this your dream? Leland was beside me, uncomfortably real. It was also odd to call it a dream when we were inside it. This was likely what they call a lucid dream.
私はあんたの夢じゃないから。
Just so you know, I'm not a dream. So you're also in the dream?
ここで私の夢とあんたの夢を接触させたの。
Our dreams have been connected by magic. At the word magic, something stirred deep in my mind. That's right, we did the ritual when I was sleeping in the hallway.
海の真ん中に線があるでしょ。あそこからあっちが私の夢。
A red line, huh, along the horizon? You see that line in the middle of the ocean? From there to there is my dream. In the direction she indicated was an unnatural scene. It was like the world was sliced. The ocean just stopped and split. Where the dream worlds touched. If Leland could come to my dream, then that meant I could also go over to hers. Good thing I wasn't having a lewd dream. What's the significance of using my underwear as a catalyst?
夢を接触させる相手が普段身につけているものなら何でもいいの。
To share
穴開いてたし、どうせ捨てるでしょ。
share dreams, anything that comes into everyday contact with the subject's body will do. They have a hole in them, so you should throw them out anyway. I see. The reason was more mundane than expected.
見せてあげるって言ったでしょ。
Come on, I said I'd show you. Leland grabbed my hand, and my shoes still on. Oh, and with my shoes still on, we continued on into the ocean. It's a dream, so we could walk through it. Or rather, it was impossibly shallow. We were quickly approaching the boundary. It's not a pretty sight. Over half of Leland's dream was wrapped in darkness. We crossed the boundary. As soon as I took that single step, the world changed. A bird's eye view of Toyotoki Island. There were the mountains and the big gate. But the scenery soon changed. It was a cave. There was a ring of rocks in an open space. We stood in a little nook. Suddenly I could hear a sound like dragging chains. Next to me, Leland had been chained up. Hey! They seemed to have a will of their own and dragged Leland further into the cave. In an instant, she was out of sight. I had been left alone. It was straight out of a horror movie. I was already scared. I wanted to cry, run away, and go home. But I couldn't make my body obey me. I had seen something even more horrible. Next to me was a shadowy figure. It was shorter than me, but something in its ominous aura told me that I shouldn't touch it. The figure was walking toward where Leland was taken. Since the beginning, they didn't care about me. The figure disappeared. I could hear the sound of chains from deeper in the cave. This was sinister. Was Leland okay? Was she going to die? Would they kill me next? I'd wholly forgotten I was in a dream. I really was afraid of dying. So when the black shape ignored me, I felt a wicked reassurance. At that moment, I felt something behind me. What? Ah! Then I woke up, my forehead was bathed in sweat. My eyes adjusted to the darkness, saw a window at the end of the hallway. I could see the dust floating in a shaft of moonlight. It was a dream. It was a bit too real. The smells, sounds, and temperature were indistinguishable from reality. I was so scared I still couldn't stop shaking. Are you okay? Leland was also awake and peered into my face. Were you scared to tears? I'm so glad you survived. I mumbled what I was really feeling. Without thinking, I was gripping her hand.
そう。そんなに心配されると照れるわね。
I'm embarrassed you are that worried. I'll save up and buy you a good bed and pillow. Well, I made a decision. I'd save up my money. That would cure her bad dreams. No, it would not. Because she's got something else going on with all that. Just like she tried to heal me from my trauma. We didn't have a long discussion about it because I was too upset. Later, even though Leland bought a pillow, the nightmares showed no signs of stopping.
ほら、早くしてください。見送りイベントの時間がなくなってしまいますよ。
Hurry up or we'll miss the send-off event. Yeah. It had been 10 days since the sleepover. Today was the day Akari was moving to Tokyo. This was my third experience of this kind of thing, so I was an old hand at it now. I carried her overnight, a bag for her. We walked along an empty road, talking about nothing. There was an unexpectedly large crowd gathered at the harbor. Local elementary school students were waving flags. There were also a lot of elderly people. I couldn't hide my astonishment when I saw that the port held more than 5 times the usual number of people. The reason for the crowd was written on a banner. Good luck, Akari at Katsumi Toyotoki Island Seniors Association. The name of that organization always meant something different, but today at least outsiders were spared.
何ですか?
What is all this? Let's see. A man wearing glasses approached the dumbfounded Akari. I knew him because he was famous. He was the principal of the only school on the island. Everyone wanted to come see you off. We are grateful to you, Miss Katsumi, for your volunteer work with the School Arts Festival and the Athletic
それは
Festival.
まあ、村長の娘ですから。
Oh well, it's because I'm the mayor's daughter. No matter whatever the reason. The principal turned and some elementary school students appeared. 2 of them handed Akari a letter in a paper bag. Inside was origami, colored paper, and the like. Good luck in Tokyo, Miss Akari.
ええ、ありがとうございます。
Oh, thank you. After the elementary kids left, next up was the Seniors Association. They gave her a similar farewell gift. Finally, a group of individual islanders came up. She was being treated like a celebrity. Of course, she was the only daughter of a well-respected family. It made sense for something big to happen when she left. But when she turned around, we were giving her a funny look.
何ですか、その目は。
What's with that look? Lady Akari is not like us lowly outsiders. Ugh! Got her. After that, we didn't talk about anything important. We played around with her, gave her chops on the head. There was no substance in these exchanges. Because this was the last time we could have a meaningful conversation with her, we couldn't say anything. I felt something like impatience. But I think it was something different. That's right, I never gave her my contact info. I took out my phone and gave her my number. I didn't want to use the one I borrowed from her forever, so I bought my
後で
own.
電話してくださいね。
Call me later, okay? No way, that's too embarrassing.
何のためのスマホですか？
Why did you... Why did you even get a phone then? I'll be waiting. She blew me a kiss. How shameless. Thank you for waiting. Boarding has now started. Please bring your tickets up to the attendant and begin boarding. The time had come. People in the waiting room started standing up.
あかり、私からもプレゼントがあるの。
Akari, I have a present for you too. Leland gave her a paper bag. Inside was a golden
す
brooch.
ごい高そうですけど、いいんですか？
This looks super expensive. Are you sure I can have
当
it?
たり前でしょ。あかりのために作ったんだもの。
Of course, I made it for
手
you.
作りなんですか？
You made this? Yeah, in the blast furnace she built in the yard.
すごすぎですね。
Isn't that too
お
much?
やけのお守りでもあるの。頑張って。
It's a charm against curses. Good luck. Leland held Akari's head. Though it was it's an embarrassing scene, there was no one else in the waiting room. Suddenly, I looked at my watch and was surprised to see it was past the departure time. I broke out in a cold sweat and looked out the window. Ah, today's a hot one. Sure is hard to walk in the heat. Best to go slow, no sense in rushing this old lady. Everyone was milling around the harbor. Toyotoki's elderly are a lively bunch, and usually energetically boarded. So why today? I started to think, but from their occasional glances into the waiting room I could guess the reason. They were giving us time. The official smiled wryly and pretended not to notice.
ありがとうございます。あかりはもう行きますね。
Thank you so much, I should be going now. Akari left the waiting room and headed for the pier. Just before she boarded the ferry, she looked back. She waved at us and we waved back. She continued up the ramp. Departure. The ferry slowly pulled out of the harbor. Akari is riding on that, I thought, and a sudden feeling of loneliness welled up inside me. At that moment, my new phone vibrated. Caller ID said Akari. What the? It's too soon for a call. I only just gave her my number. She was already calling me. Was this even a farewell? Forget something? I answered with a joke, but she replied with a serious question.
頑張れって言ってくれませんか？
Nishime, could you please wish me good luck? What are you talking
理由は
about?
聞かないでください。ただ、言ってくれればいいんです。
Please don't ask why, just say it. I don't understand, but alright, good luck. It was just a simple phrase. But had something changed? I didn't know why, but I'd say it as many times as she
ありがとう
wanted.
ございます。
Thank you,
あかり
I'll
は頑張れます。
thank you, I'll work really hard.
行ってきます。
I'm going now. I know. It was a short call. The phone went out of range. But it was enough time to say what needed to be said, to convey what needed to be conveyed. That was why I thought this simple parting suited us well. Since Akari's departure, I've been free on my days off. No one hung out at the house. No incidents occurred. What did I do before? I can't remember. What should I do? I'll go to the neighboring island for a bit.
私も行くわ。家は暑いし。
In that case, I'll go with you. The house is hot. Actually, this was the first time the two of us rode the boat over on our own. Leland was usually cheapskate about the ferry ticket and would use magic. In most other cases, Akari would have been with me. I wandered into a used bookstore. There were a lot of customers inspecting the books. There were a lot in particularly enthusiastically checking out a special comics section. In other words, they were standing and reading. I was doing the same, so I couldn't say much. I stood in an empty space and read something that caught my eye. but I didn't come here for books. I wanted to kill time somewhere cooler than
私
home.
は糸を見てくるわ。ずっとここにいる？
I'm going to look at Thread. Will you be here? Yeah, I'll wait for you. Leland left and I was absorbed in comics. It was the story of a high school couple who fell in love. It was lightly paced, so I read it quickly. On the other hand, I was also deeply touched by the painful situations it depicted. The heroine was a meek girl with long black hair, kind-hearted, quiet without a deceitful bone in her body, a beautiful girl without any love experience or understanding of jewelry. That was the exact kind of character who'd pull me in. No, that wasn't right. While she seemed like the ideal heroine, what I was attracted to was the high school life. If I'd moved to my second and third year, maybe I also would have experienced a romantic comedy like this. In the middle of this delusion, someone tapped me from behind.
そういう女が好きなんだ。
So this is the kind of girl you like? Leland was peeking at the comic over my shoulder. It was a 2-page spread of the heroine. How long have you been there?
来たとこ。
I just got here. I see. Shall we
そ
go?
ういう女が好きなんだ。
Is that the kind of girl you like? They think she's jealous here. I received a relentless questioning, but there was nowhere to run. What was the best answer? No was the easiest choice, but if I said that, then she'd ask why I was reading it so intensely. I do like that kind of girl. I hesitated and answered candidly. It was basically saying I said I'd be with you, but I like another woman. It was an act of disloyalty. However, it's not good to lie either.
そう。
Ah, I see. Leland didn't hide her displeasure. She turned around and quickly left the store. I got her all mad. We ate lunch at home, in complete silence. The air was heavy during the
用事があ
meal.
るから。
I've got things to do. When lunch was over, she went back to her room. I washed the dishes by myself. I sighed as I scrubbed with the sponge. I wonder what other men in the world do in a case like this. I gotta think of a way to break the ice. I'm sorry about earlier. That was the standard apology. But then, oh no, I'm not mad at all is the standard reply. Then the knife would be twisted a bit more with, I don't even know what you're apologizing for. It was the standard apology refusal, and when used, the apologist's sin is never forgiven. A terrifying spell. It all depended on timing. I could just not apologize. I've used this option a lot ever since I was little. I'd hide and keep out of sight until the other person didn't look mad anymore. It worked well with my aunt. However, doing that to Leland would be treating her like my aunt, which I didn't want to do. I guess give her an honest apology? Though that might just add fuel to the fire. No, but then, As I agonized, I ran out of things to wash. No choice but to do it. Steeling myself, I left the kitchen. Leland, are you here? Open up. I knocked and peeked into her room. Oh my gosh, she was changing clothes. I hurried and shut the door. I was shocked at the romantic comedy plot twist. I mean, first of all, Leland only has one set of clothes. I didn't realize she could even change. During my confusion, Leland came out of her room. She was holding the clothes she was changing into. It was a high school uniform. Akari had somehow left it at the house. Sorry, I didn't think you'd be
いい
changing.
の。着替えなんて今日が初めてだし。
It's fine, today's the first time I've done it. Well, why were you changing into that anyway?
こういうのが好きだって言うから。
Because you said you like this kind of thing. I don't know about that. It's easy to make that kind of conclusion, yeah, but it was probably a personality with what we had seen before. My heart leapt at this unexpected reason. So much so I thought it was going to fly out of my body. Leland was going to cosplay for me. All because I was reading a romantic comedy set in a school. You don't need to do that for me, Leland.
本当はああいうのが好きなんでしょ?
But don't you actually like that kind of thing? It was more of a figure of speech.
ヒカルが嫌なら髪も染めるし、イヤリングも外すけど。
See, but if you don't like them, I'll even dye my hair and take off my earrings. Oh my gosh. I just tell her that I like her the way she is. I held my breath in admiration. She'd go that far for me. My adoration exploded. Love, this is love. I like you the way you are. Reflexively, I said something nice. My voice cracked. How embarrassing. I needed to say something to save the situation. The way you are right now.
今のままの私が何?
What about the way I am right now? She looked at me expectantly. She wanted to hear what was coming next. A confession that promised victory. There wasn't any reason not to say it here. No reason. Leland, There was a dull pain behind my eyes. The usual sickness. My vision was rapidly narrowing. Leland caught me as I stumbled.
ヒカルはいつも肝心なことが言えないのね。
You can never say the important part, huh? Sorry.
ヘタレって言葉の意味、最近分かったわ。
I recently figured out what the word wuss means. but my disease.
知ってるけど、イライラするわ。
I know, I do, and yet I'm still upset. I'm sorry. I stared down at my hands. Leland placed hers on
だか
mine.
ら、時間をかけて直せばいいの。待ってるから。
Just take your time and heal. I'll wait. Man alive. Should just go see a therapist or something to help him deal with that part. Yeah. In the end, I never apologized about the bookstore because I faced an even bigger challenge. I couldn't help but be angry that I'm cursed not to say I love you. Why did I have to be this way? And after all, Leland's done for me too. I checked out a book from the library. I learned about psychological diseases. If I got desensitized to my mental trauma, I'd get better. That was what I had researched before, so I decided to go into a deeper study of it. Okay, what's this? Some tricks for getting desensitized to trauma. Have a sense of security in life. Have a way to deal with your trauma responses. Work with the person you feel safe with. Make sure you feel perfectly safe in your environment. If you weren't confident about that, then you wouldn't be able to face your trauma and you'd most likely get worse. Aside from the sense of security, I was good for working on my trauma responses, and if I fell, Leland would catch me in her arms. I
ヒ
joked.
カル、今いい?
Is now a good time, Hikaru? For what?
例の夢のことで手伝ってほしいことがあるの。
I'd like your help again with my dreams. While I was thinking about my trauma, Leland came to me for help with an unexpectedly intimate topic. Maybe she had some mental hang-ups too. Are they still going on?
だんだん頻度が上がってるみたい。
Kind of.
何かいるんだと思うの。
Kind of. They're getting more frequent. I think there's something on this island. Something like those demons you see in your dream? Hold on, guys. My phone's charged, so gonna get things put away there. Shouldn't take too long, so I'm just gonna mute. Alright, I'm back. Let's see, it sounded like a joke. But as far as Leland was concerned, it was true.
わからないけれど、夢を通じて何かを伝えようとしているんだと思う。
I don't know, but I think it's trying to tell me something through my dreams. It usually is, a lot of the times with these dreams. It's all about things that we notice not on a conscious level and things from what I've heard. It's just hard to parse it out. A revelation in a dream. An idea that had been around since the dawn of time the world over. In Babylonia, they even had instructional materials for the interpretation of dreams. You said you wanted my help?
中で見た山、覚えてる？
You remember the mountains in my dream? Yeah, from the sky view. When I entered Leland's dream, I saw it for just a flash. A gate surrounded by
あれ、
mountains.
多分ネヌファだと思うの。
I think maybe it's Mount Nenufar. I'm pretty sure that's all the Osato family's private property. You've never seen the view from the top, right? Dreams were a reflection of what we've seen. So it had to be a figment of her
だから
imagination.
こそ外部から介入されたと考えるべきよ。夢を見せてきた何かならその景色も作り出せる。
That's why I think it must have been some kind of outside intervention. If something is showing me these dreams, it could create that view. You think that's what happened?
多分ね。景色を見ればどの方向から見下ろしたかわかるでしょう。あれは島を北から見下ろしていたわ。
Probably. You could see what direction we were looking from that vantage point, right? We were looking down on the island from the north. We were, but
そ
why?
れを調べたいの。あの場所に悪夢を見せてくる原因がいるに違いないわ。
That's what I want to check. I'm sure the thing that's causing me to see the nightmares lives there. It lives there? For some reason I was holding my breath. All that being said, the Osato family were an old family and basically ruled the island. We couldn't ask to investigate just because she had a bad dream. And I didn't know any of them.
大丈夫よ。三段はついてるから。
It's okay.
見張りをお願いしたいの。
It's okay. I'll think of something. Just please watch over me. Don't come up with anything wicked, okay? Hey, look me in the eyes and answer me. But Leland didn't say anything. That night we went to the Osato estate. I could feel their intent to refuse us from the closed gate itself. For security, a light shone down onto the street, but it only illuminated this one corner. Well, what do we do? It was a tense situation. There wasn't any way to sneak
忍び
in.
込むわ。
Gonna sneak in. How? Are you going to fly?
飛んだら、非常事態が発生した時に対処できないわ。
If we fly, we won't be able to handle any emergencies that might come up. Emergencies like what? Is this dangerous?
だから、正面から登るわ。
That's why we gotta be direct. Hey, don't ignore me. Hey, what are you doing? Leland grabbed my arm. I couldn't shake her off. As I tried, we passed through the gate with magic. This was trespassing. It was already a desperate situation. As I stilled myself, we continued on. Continuing up the mountain path, I thought I could make out the main building of the house. There wasn't just one. There were a variety of structures from prefab huts to magnificent shrines. It didn't seem like a private residence at all. Before this was the Asato family's private home. It was holy ground for the Kiminarai. Many of these buildings must have been public property. The huge church-like grounds must also serve as a parking lot. What do we do from here?
山頂に行きたいの。道を探すわ。
I want to see the summit, look for a path. In other words, I had to wander around. At the back of the main house, I found something that looked a lot like a door. It was so small I doubted two people could pass through it side by side. A bit farther was a path up the mountain, but there were no lights. The doors bolted with a disproportionately large bar. It wasn't just locked, it was locked. It looked sealed. Luckily, the bar was on this side, so we didn't need to break the lock. We'd put it right later and no one would be the wiser. No, this is weird. What is? Why is the bar on this side? Normally it'd be designed so you can open the door from the outside. My guess would be that it's designed to keep something in. But here it was on the
逆なん
outside.
でしょ
What if it's the opposite? What do you mean?
内側から開けられないようにするためってこと。閉じ込めてるのよ。
To keep something on the inside from coming out, they locked it up. She came to the same conclusion I did. I asked, but what, and realized how dumb that sounded. You lock up humans. It had to be. But for what purpose? This is no laughing matter. This was supposed to be a simple search, but instead we unexpectedly stumbled upon the dark side of the island. I felt a chill run down my spine, and yet I felt good. We'd be okay as long as we didn't get caught. That was my train of thought. Beyond the door, grim darkness waited. There were no streetlights, and the trees blocked the moonlight. There was an amazing lack of illumination. My phone had a light, but it was too dark to use it. It stand out too much. As our eyes grew accustomed to the dark, we cautiously made our way forward. We ascended a twisting path. With each step, the sky grew closer. A thick forest grew on either side. We didn't have to push my branches out of the way, so it seemed to be more or less maintained. We'd been walking for about 10 minutes. We finally saw something that looked like a building. A stone wall about 6 feet high extended endlessly on both sides. On the wall was an iron gate. It was the exact same gate from the dream. I now stood before it. Of course, I'd never seen it before. Neither had Leland. I'd say it was scientifically impossible to have had that dream. I had to accept that it came from some supernatural power.
上から行くわ。
Let's go over it. With that, she leapt to the top of the wall like a
使って
cat. Grab on. She reached down to me from the wall. She pulled me up and we could see what was on the other side. It was a house. Honestly, it was a grand palace. Red tiles in the Okinawan style, Shiza statues on the roof. The architecture was familiar, but even more ornately constructed than the Osato home. The trees in the garden were well cared for and colorful flowers bloomed. There wasn't just one private home in the area. It seemed a lot like a royal palace. Did a VIP live here? Yet there was no sign of anyone. The house was quiet and still. We jumped down from the wall and continued along it. Along the way, we could see there was a corridor going through the yard. Lanterns were erected here and there, and they illuminated the various vegetation. Light from the candles created an exotic atmosphere. As we went farther, we found a place where the wall stopped. It was the back gate. From that point, the trail went downhill. We couldn't see anywhere higher, so the house had to be the top of the mountain. Maybe the descending path went up again after a bit, or maybe there was something deeper inside. What do you want to do? Go a bit further?
そうね。屋敷は後にするわ。
Yes, and then check out the house. You can't feel anything or figure anything out with
そ
magic?
のはずなんだけど、なんだかモヤモヤしてて、よくわからないのよね、この場所。
I should, but everything just feels kind of fuzzy. I don't know about this place. My worry increased at this statement. While it was difficult to say if it was unnatural, I would say losing magical perception was at least dangerous. Still, Leland continued on. Powerless, I could do nothing but follow. We went about 40 feet. Then, quite close to the house, we suddenly came across a stone building. I could best describe it as a scaled-down copy of the exterior of the main structure. A single house with no entrance stood among the trees. If I had just arrived on the island, I would have wondered about it, but I knew what it meant, because others like it were scattered about the island. It was a grave. Each family had one to enshrine its members' cremated
特にお
remains.
かしな仕掛けもない。ただの墓ね。
There's nothing strange about this place, it's just a grave. But it looks very
それ
old.
でも、古いだけ。何もないわ。
It is very old, but it's still nothing. I wonder whose grave it is. If I thought calmly, it'd have to belong to the Asato family. Or really, it was that there shouldn't be other people's graves on their private property. But the question remained, why put it in such a remote place? I mean, it's their grave, so they can put it wherever they want. But I still wondered.
本当に何もないのかしら。
It looks like there's really nothing here. Can we go farther?
見たけれど、道は途切れていたわ。土砂崩れがあったみたい。
I checked, but it looks like the road has been blocked by a landslide. In other words, we'd seen everything important. There was just a grave. That was all. Shall we head back?
そうするしかないわね。
I guess that's all we can do. It doesn't look like you really agree.
ここだと思ってたのよ。でも、それらしい気配や建物もないし。
I thought it'd be here, but I don't see any building or get any feeling. What about the
あれは
house?
住居だと思うわ。特におかしなところもないし。
I think that's just a house. I didn't get any particularly strange vibes from it. Leland was dissatisfied with the situation. She was pretty sure the cause of her dreams was on the summit. Perhaps she interpreted it wrong. Perhaps we looked in the wrong place. In any case, all we know now was there was a house at the summit. And it didn't seem to be anything other than a house. We headed back toward it. We took our time looking at the quiet yard. It seemed like someone lived there. Maybe later Hidi Kiminarai? Because Inoro housed a god inside her body, she was treated as a goddess herself. It wouldn't be strange for her to live in a special place. The more I thought about it, the more I could come up with a logical explanation. The Asato's private grounds sounded really scary, but we hadn't seen anything to be concerned about, so I'd be lying if I said I wasn't caught off guard. I was also fairly optimistic that no one was there. What are you doing out there? The instant a voice rang out, my body turned to stone. Someone was there. I just turned my head and looked back at the candlelit veranda. In the light, there was a white figure. An old woman was sitting under the covered veranda. I couldn't guess at her age, but she was at least 70. She noticed our reaction. We didn't move at
あん
all.
たは誰？ここで何をしているの？
I think this is the head priestess. Who are you? What are you doing here? Leland stepped forward. Apparently she left all her hesitation at the foot of the mountain. When you ask someone's name, you should give your own
私
first.
はリルーよ。
I'm Leland. Haven't heard that name before. You must be from over
あ
there.
ちら？
Over there? From inside the cave.
なんで知ってるのよ。
How did you know? It's easy to know when you've got one of those things dangling about. The old woman pointed to Leland's chest. To her Jurgen emblem. The proof of her
知ってる
status.
なら話は早いわ。私は魔女よ。
See, if you know about it, then that saves me some time. I'm a witch. That's hard to believe. You certainly don't come from a line of witches. Your mana is much too weak.
あんたはどうなの？
How about your mana? You can't even tell the difference in power between us. I'll leave it at that. Oh. I didn't follow their conversation. Just that somehow the old woman seemed to know where Leland was from. How did she know about witches? Why was she living in a place like this? What about him? What's his name? Conversation turned to me and I lost my train of thought. Hikaru Nishime. Nishime. You're called Nishime? That's right. Come here. I couldn't hide my surprise at the sudden order, but refusing wouldn't help anything. I walked closer to the veranda. I stopped about 6 feet from the old woman. The more I looked, the more she seemed to be a normal human. White kimono, white hair, pale skin. That was it. Were you born on this island? No, in Tokyo. Where were your parents born? My father was born on Toyotoki Island. I see. And what is the man doing now? That man? Your grandfather. I believe my grandfather is currently overseas. Why? I don't know. I think I'm learning magic from some indigenous folk. Oh, I think learning magic from some indigenous folk. What an interesting man. I agree with you there. That seemed like a safe answer. Do you know my grandfather? Well, not really. You shouldn't ask all those questions if you didn't know him. But I didn't have the courage to cross-examine her. Now, I'll tell you for your own good. Don't get involved with witches. They'll bring you misfortune.
あ
What?
んたに何がわかるわけ？
And what do you know? Enough to know
あ
that.
んたは何者？大里家の人間なの？
Who are you? Part of the Asato family? The people down there call me the Great Ikigami. If you don't know what that means, study a bit of history. Leland clenched her fist at being laughed at for her lack of research. However, this was the first time I'd heard the name Ikigami. I'd heard the term used to describe saints or living gods, but it was clear that this was even more important than Lady Kiminarai. So what was this place? Was this where the living gods lived? Did we happen to trespass upon holy ground? I felt chills all over. We shouldn't be on holy ground. I was well aware of the harshness of the Asano family when it came to religion. The doctor's coming. It'd be bad if he saw you, right? The great Ikigami whispered to us. She was telling us to escape. No. She was telling us to escape? It is a mystery how she could tell the doctor was coming, but if it was true, that meant trouble. Let's go, we can't let them see us. I put my hand on Leland's shoulder. We didn't need to know everything right away. Since it was easy to sneak in, we could just come and talk again. I know, Leland said regretfully and turned away from the Ikigami. We left the way we came, by following the outer wall. Just as we reached the gate, we heard the sound of it being opened. A Kanjuna priestess had arrived with a man, so a doctor really was visiting. We waited for them to go inside the house, then we leapt over the stone wall. I was on high alert all the way down the mountain. We had come up the mountain without bolting the door. They had to know there were trespassers. They must have started their search for the invaders. I was haunted by these fantasies, but in the end, no one saw us until after we had left the Asano property. The great Ikigami? Now who told you about that? Yasan, huh? The next day I visited Yasan, the Forbidden Mountain, the house on the summit, a captive old woman. And in the legends passed down from generation to generation in this village, and I was sure there'd be a bunch of murders. I knew it wasn't something an outsider should get involved in, but I couldn't help but want to know the truth. Should I not know anything about the great Ikigami? Shush, don't say that so loud. Is it really that big of a secret? Well, something is hidden in that lock-up home that has been passed down because one by one people are... What? Are you telling me there's already been an incident? Okay, we can cut that out. Well, everyone on the island knows the story. The great Ikigami is a real bigwig. It's good at playing along. It was no wonder, considering Yasan was a fan of mystery writer Seishi Okamizo. Great Ikigami's job is to visit all Toyotoki around the island once a year for the Ikiganashi festival. Ikiganashi? The festival we just had. You went to it too, didn't ya? Oh, I did go, but the festival had a different name. The ceremony on the second day is called Ikiganashi. You remember what Utaki are? Yes. Utaki were sacred places in the religion of Ryukyu. People would offer prayers to their gods. There are 5 Utaki on Toyotoki Island. The great Ikigami goes around to all of them. There were 2 on Mount Nenufar, one in the southwest, one on the south mountain, Mount Unufar, and one in the shopping district. They were accompanied on the pilgrimage only by the Kiminari Kanjuna priestesses. No laymen followed them. Also, since no one was allowed to see this ceremony, basically no one went outside on Ikiganashi Day. I think on the day of the festival I was told not to leave my house the next night. Does the great Ikigami do anything else? What's the connection to the Kiminari? The most revered person on the island was the Kiminari. It was a name bestowed by the Ryukyu kingdom. They said the Kiminari was great because she called a god down into her own body. On the other hand, the Ikigami, the living god, had the word god in it. A living god. With the living god next to them, the authority of the Kiminarai faded. I ain't sure what to say. The great Ikigami. He's been on the island longer than Lady Kiminarai. What do you mean by that? That's a complicated story, San said, explaining. First, the Kiminarai were Noro priestesses. They were blood relatives of the second Sho dynasty, and because of that rule, they were sent to govern Toyotoki Island. This was in the first half of the 16th century. Since then, the center of worship on the island was the Kiminarai. He was the Kiminarai. Or Kiminari, but before that, it was the Ikigami. The island was ruled by a powerful family, and so a belief unique to the island took root. When the Kiminarai came, was the Ikigami abolished? That ain't the Rikyu way. Everything was mixed together. You know about Nirai Kanai, the land of the gods across the ocean? I know the name at least. Amon Rikyu came from Nirai Kanai and created Rikyu, but they also Ami Rikyu descended from heaven. Nirai Kanai is the land of the gods beyond the ocean. Amon Rikyu came from Nirai Kanai. Amami Q descended from heaven. In other words, heaven was beyond the ocean. So long ago, Rikyu's ocean rose vertically upwards. No, that wasn't it. The islanders long ago saw the ocean, so the land of gods was beyond that to them. For the Satsuma people, it was the heavens above, different views, but luckily it all mixed. On other islands, Nirai Kanai was said to be underground. Wherever it was, the land of the gods was just that. It was always separate. And so, because of this mixing, both the Kiminarai and the Ikigami have been worshipped together even until now. That's right. Lady Kiminarai is taking care of the island now, but they're both still here. The real power was held by the royal family. In that case, the Ikigami, who originally controlled the island, was an obstacle, so they built a house on a mountain summit and installed a bar that could only be opened from the outside. That was the first hypothesis I came up with. Where's the great Ikigami now? Living with Lady Kiminarai. What, they live together? I pretended not to know. Nah, the Ikigami has their own personal residence to live in. Where is that? Well, I don't know that much. I've never seen anything like them. Well, the house probably has a caretaker, so they don't need to go out. And the Ikigami aren't supposed to be seen without permission, so the house is probably way back somewhere. Despite her importance to the island, surprisingly little was actually known to the public about her situation. I guess you could call it keeping out of her private life. But with that bar, it seemed more like confinement to me. Once the Kiminarai arrived on the island, they immediately locked her away to get rid of the previous power on the island. But to continue doing so during modern times didn't make any sense. Was I misunderstanding something, or was there another meaning to it all? It was all very interesting, but not what I wanted to know. It was enough for me to understand it's not magical. Hold on, guys, I feel like I need a break for at least a drink, but I'll take a moment to do a bathroom break too, so you guys go ahead and take a break too. We will be right back. Alright, I'm back, but let me check on some things before we return to stream here. Just got a lot of notifications. Okay. Nothing too important. So now we can return. Alright. Let's see. So, if you're interested, the library's got a book about the Great Ikigami. Well, I'll check it out. I thanked his son and left. After I went to the only library on the island. When I asked the information desk, I was given a booklet with a handmade quality about it. The history of the people of Toyotoki Island. Events were listed in order starting with the dawn of time, and Ikigami was at the top. Man trespassed upon the domain of the gods. The angry god, where there Ikigami appeared, appealed to the god. The end wasn't. And so the humans, thus they escaped the god's punishment. That's all that was mentioned. Most of it was faint and illegible. This wasn't helpful. I'd have to ask his son later. I skimmed some other books, but they didn't mention the Ikigami. Well, this is how you do research. I returned the book to the library. I'm back. I asked about the Ikigami. I shared the knowledge I had acquired. As I explained the history, Leland began throwing her eyebrows. Using my phone, I explained about the Rikyu dynasty one by one.
生き神様はただの人なのね。
In other words, the Ikigami is just a human. So it seems. It's mystifying. Leland looked thoroughly unconvinced. The simplest explanation for the devil who showed herself... The simplest explanation for the devil who showed her the nightmares was that it was the Ikigami. However, that line of inquiry was a no-go. There was nothing at the summit. But letting it be just because it was a dream wasn't an
人で
option.
はないものが見せる悪夢を放置すれば災いが降りかかるわ。
If
こ
you
の世
leave
がそうなんだとしたら時間がないの。
If you leave a dream about non-human things alone, disaster will befall you. If that's the case, we're running out of time. Leland looked impatient. I didn't know what was going on, but I did understand it was bad. And it seemed that the Ikigami had the key to it all. To it all. After all, she was human. But not just an ordinary human. I was certain we'd find something if we kept looking into her. You change others. In the drawing room of the Asato home, men and women in the prime of life gathered. Lady Kiminari was the leader and the heads of the Akitsumi and Kinsudan branch families were there with their wives. Usually they only gathered together for things like festivals and New Year's, but occasionally they came together for extraordinary events. Because this time it was an emergency, they all waited for Lady Kiminari to speak with dark expressions. I'm sorry for calling you all so suddenly. It's important, so I thought I'd talk to y'all directly. It's about the substitution. Lady Kiminari mumbled, and the head of the Akitsumi answered on behalf of all the branch families. So, the time has come at last. I cannot possibly thank you for your long years of service. I'm so humbly grateful for all the care I've received from y'all. I can't thank you enough. I feel the same way. By the way, why is it so late this time? Late? The appointed date passed long ago. Please allow me to answer that. Shinji Osato spoke up. Due to a mistake, the next generation has been unable to visit the Osato estate. They are now living in the village. What, in the village? So the arrival went according to plan? Most likely, but due to a series of extraordinary events, we couldn't be sure. You don't have any proof at this time? No, it's just by process of elimination. That's concerning. We can't afford to make any mistakes. What other choices do we have? I can only pray that we're right. The head of the Akatsuki Akatsuki kept silent. Instead, the head of the Kunsudan spoke. When is the appointed time? Next week. We will let you know the exact day and time later. Shinji Osato then gave a detailed explanation. The other members of the branch families all asked questions which Lady Kiminara answered. After the discussion ended, everyone rose from their seats and departed. No one was left in the room. The only sound was the cry of the evening cicadas. You changed, Leland. It was the same dream again. I dreamed a black shadow was watching me from far. I couldn't move or look away from the shadows. Shadows slowly came nearer. Every time they appeared, the distance between us was shorter. When the shadow reached me, there were nights when I shuddered with my wild guesses. And today the shadow was right in front of me. Yesterday it was still so distant, and now it suddenly was in this... and now suddenly it was this close. The shadow was already within reach. Since I couldn't move, I could only watch as it stretched its hand out toward me. No trustworthy entity will show you a dream. Nothing good will come of it anyway. The shadow had a face. He seemed to be both laughing and angry. He was nearly touching my chest. The shadow passed through my body and entered inside. It chilled me to the bone and I started violently trembling. Stop it, don't go inside me. The shadow poured into me from my head. I was filled with the fear of being possessed by an unknown something. Something so creepy had to be a curse. Yeah. Why didn't I realize it until today? But I didn't feel any kind of mana. The shadow's whole body was inside me. There was no one else in sight. It was an empty world. Before I knew it, I could move my body. In my dream, I felt myself up and down, but nothing seemed to be wrong. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. So what was that just now? I exhaled and looked down. What? I woke up in terror. My body was covered in sweat. I checked where I was. I was in my futon in the study in Hikaru's house. It was still dark outside. It was just after 2 o'clock. I went over what happened in my dream. When I looked down at my feet, the shadow came out of my stomach. Only his face came out and he looked me in the eyes. I couldn't stop my body from shaking. I knew in reality I was fine, but I checked over my stomach to see I was unharmed. Why did that happen to me? Was it because we deepened our relationship? Shivering, I pulled the futon over my head. I was so terrified I didn't sleep anymore that night. You changed, Hikaru. I felt uncomfortable the moment I woke up. Leland was gone. She wasn't in the kitchen either. I didn't see any signs of breakfast prep. Maybe she overslept. That was unusual. I headed to her room. Hey, are you awake? I called, but got no answer. Maybe she was sick in bed. I'm coming in. I peeked in, but she wasn't in there either. The futon was folded up, and I approached it. It seemed like she was awake. Did she go out this early? I went to check the front door. Her shoes were still there, so she had to still be in the house. No, but she wasn't. Yes, but she wasn't. I circled back to the living room. In any case, I figured I might as well get some light in here. I went over to the window to open the curtains. Then I saw something. Whoa, something's here. It was Leland. She was sitting hidden on the sofa, her knees drawn up to her face. At my voice, her face appeared in the space between her legs.
ヒカルもうそんな時間なのね。
Karu, I guess it's already time. What's wrong? Did something
具
happen?
合が悪いみたい。
I think I'm sick. Do you have a fever? Leland shook her
なん
head.
だか目がチカチカするの。太陽の光が眩しくて。
For some reason, my eyes hurt. The sunlight is too bright. So it's an eye element of some sort? Is it better in the dark? Leland closed her eyes and nodded. Are the fluorescent lights also too
わ
bright?
からないけど、気持ち悪い。
I don't know, but I still feel awful. Her weak response filled me with fear. This looked really bad. You want to go to the hospital?
少ししたら治ると思うから。それより、朝ごはん作れなくてごめん。
No, I think I'll be better soon. I'm really sorry that I didn't get to breakfast. That isn't important. I'll make it today. I said make it, but I really just had rice and a raw egg. I was already almost late for work. I couldn't really take my time. But would Leland be okay alone in the
私
house?
のことは平気。仕事に行って。
I'm fine. You've got to work. But
ヒカルが家にいてもできることはないわ。
there's nothing you could do even if you stayed home. It was true, but I hated to hear it. The possibility that this was a female-only condition came to my mind. It'd probably be best not to probe too deeply into this. Okay. I gave up and got ready to go.
行ってらっしゃい。
Have a good day. Leland came to the front door to see me off. Since I didn't make breakfast, I'll at least do this, she told me. It was so sweet my heart skipped a few beats. Well, I'm off. We walked together up to the gate. Today was also a scorcher. Heat waves shimmered in the garden. Leland half closed her eyes, telling me it's too bright. I felt so helpless at not being able to do anything, but at the same time I was happy, because it meant she liked me that much. This is far enough, go back and sleep, I said over my shoulder at the border of the property. Leland was gone. Where did she go? As I searched for her, I turned back toward the front door. I panicked. She'd collapsed in the entryway. Hey! I rushed over and picked her up. Her body had no strength. She was like a mannequin. Her arms hung limply across her stomach. She felt so lifeless, I was worried she was actually dead. I desperately wanted to say something, but I couldn't find the words. For now, I just shook her shoulder. She groaned, letting out an ah and an ugh. Had she lost consciousness? What should I do? What was she sick with? Should I call an ambulance? I suddenly looked at her arms. Her skin was turning red, like a sunburn.
なんだか目がチカチカするの。太陽の光が眩しくて。
For some reason, my eyes hurt. The sunlight is too bright. I immediately started moving. I managed to drag Leland back into the house. I closed the front door and laid her down in the dim hallway. I carefully looked over her whole body. Both her face and arms were bright red. Sunburn. What was... was that what it was? In such a short time? This is bad. I can't make sense of this. Until now, she'd been doing normal activities in sunlight. We had a barbecue under the blazing sun during the sleepover. Leland wasn't in pain then. Something had definitely changed. She was fine yesterday morning. So that meant she changed sometime between yesterday afternoon and this morning. What kind of change had to occur for her skin to burn just from being hit with sunlight? My thoughts were frantic. No amount of thinking could help me find an answer. Eventually I decided that at least I should do some first aid. I was pretty sure a sunburn was in fact a type of burn. I wrapped some ice in a freshly washed towel. I applied it to her face and arms. There was a slight reaction. Can you speak?
私、どうなったの?
What happened to me? You collapsed in the front door. What's wrong? Are you sick?
わからない。
I don't know. She shook her head weakly. Do you know what's up with your arms? They turned bright red like you were burned. Leland lifted her arms in front of her face. She looked slightly
これくらい
surprised.
なら自分で直せるわ。
I can heal this much myself. This isn't about if you can heal it or not. You don't even know the reason. This is
船の
dangerous.
時間、いいわけ。
Isn't it time to catch the boat? You think I'd leave you right after you
日
collapsed?
に当たったのがいけないんだと思う。対処のしようはあるわ。
I just won't go into the sun. I can deal with it. What about the hospital? Should I bring someone from
行く
there?
なら日が落ちてからにしないといけないわ。電話で夜に予約を入れてね。
If you want to, let's do it after the sun is set. Call and make an appointment for the evening. I was speechless at such an unexpectedly reasonable
時
response.
間ないでしょ。お金がないんだから無駄な時間を過ごさないで。
You're running out of time, aren't you? You don't have any money or time to waste. I didn't have time to worry. All I could do was nod. Don't do anything but wait quietly at home, got it? I ran into the harbor lost in thought. I was powerless. I was suddenly frustrated by my weakness. How can you be so uncaring, Nishime? You should take the day off when a family member is sick, isn't that common sense? When I told Suzuki what happened, she called me over at lunchtime. I was wondering what it was for, but it turned out to be a lecture. She endlessly elaborated on all my inadequacies as a person. Nishime? From what I've heard, it's like that albino thing. After the scolding Yoshide, he gave me some advice. Albinoism is a genetic abnormality, referring to a condition where someone has a deficiency of melanin. Their hair and skin are both white, so albino people are easily damaged by ultraviolet rays. Melanin was a pigment in the skin that protected us from them. In some cases, albino people were burned when they encountered sunlight. It was similar to Leland's circumstances, except her skin and hair were dark. She didn't seem to lack melanin. I asked the other staff, but no one knew what could be going on with her. Phew, I'm home. After work, I ran all the way home. Was she preparing dinner? I could smell soy sauce coming from the kitchen. In the kitchen was Leland, as if nothing at all had happened.
どうしたの？そんなに慌てて。
What's wrong? Why are you in such a hurry? Nothing, I was just
心
worried.
配しすぎ。やけどは魔法で治せたし、日光に当たらなければ大丈夫だもの。
You worry too much. I can heal burns with magic, and as long as I stay out of the sun, I'm fine. There was still some redness on her arms and calves, but her face had returned to normal. Do you know what caused it?
全然。呪いだとわからないような呪いかもしれないし、手がかりはないわ。
No, it's likely a type of curse where you don't even know you've been cursed, but I don't have a clue. This isn't the time to be so calm. What if you're sick with something horrible? Should you go to the
その
hospital?
呪いは解けないのに
Even though a doctor can't break a curse? Why does it have to be
だ
that?
けど、やっぱり嫌。お金、どれだけかかるかもわからないし。
I still don't want to. We don't even know how much it'll cost. This discussion wasn't going to end. While I was trying to think of how to persuade her, I was hit with a great idea. Thinking about it, I ate and took a bath. Leland didn't take one as usual. Aside from the bath, I had no demands upon my private time. Leland's activities weren't restricted either, especially at night, just in case I gave her this sunscreen I had bought. I wasn't sure what tomorrow would bring, but hopefully that would make things better. And if it didn't, well, I wouldn't know until it happened. That night I got a phone call. Is that Hikaru? It's been a while. How are you doing? It was my grandfather on the line. It had been over a month since I'd last heard from him, so I'd been worried. Losing contact with someone in a foreign country was frightening. My first thought was that he died or something. So today I was very nervous. I've been up to this and that, you know. I'm doing just fine though, yeah. What a half-hearted response, ha ha ha. I was wondering if I should tell him about Leland. It was a wild story, so I wasn't sure he'd even believe it. If something's happened, you should try talking about it. When you put it that way, I told him bits and pieces. That I had a tenant staying with me for free, but not that she had nowhere else to go. And also how she couldn't be hit by sunlight. She can't be hit by sunlight. Hikaru, just now, is that what you said? That's right, it happened out of nowhere this morning. There wasn't anything like that before. What happened with the Great Ikigami? Huh? What happened with the Great Ikigami? Tell me. Why are you bringing that up all of a sudden? Never mind that, just answer me. His tone of voice changed. Why is he asking about the Great Ikigami? I hadn't said anything about that. I hadn't told anyone about sneaking around in the dead of night or meeting the old woman who introduced herself that way. He shouldn't have known about it. So why? Why was he asking me about the Ikigami? Well, I don't know anything about the Great Ikigami. Why do you ask? I see, never mind then. He quickly dropped it. It was like he wasn't testing my answer, but my attitude toward the question. Testing me. I lied to him. Was that a bad idea? Should I have been honest? Calm down. It wasn't always the right choice to be honest, and you couldn't always know when. Sorry, it may be a while before I can get back. He said it suddenly. I wondered if Leland had something to do with whether or not he returned. Why do you say that? I can't talk now. I'll send you a letter, so read it. Also, what did he say? For just a second I couldn't understand him. What did he say? I heard it, but my mind couldn't process it. I couldn't understand what you just said at all. Please explain. Sorry, another time. He hung up on me. I didn't know where he was staying, so I couldn't call him back. Crap. It was obvious he was hiding something. When I told him about Leland, the topic immediately switched to the Ikigami. How were his disease and the Ikigami connected? So was the cause actually related to a curse? Why would my grandfather know of that connection? It was no use. I didn't know anything. I couldn't even reflect to my satisfaction with this little information. Seemingly sensing something was going on, Leland came out of the kitchen.
電話は誰だったの
Hikaru? Who is that on the phone? My grandfather, don't worry about it, it was nothing. Hold on guys, just want to check on something. Okay. Nothing too big. My grandfather, don't worry about it, it was nothing. I lied. What he said was, don't get involved with that tenant. Throw her out. What? Leland was in a corner of the living room in the corner of the Leland was in a corner of the living room next morning too. When I opened the curtains and let the sunlight in, she dashed to hide in the shadow of the sofa. It was the same thing again. Aren't you worse than yesterday?
特に日が強いから。
The sun is just especially strong today. But that reaction isn't normal, you're sick.
夜なら動けるわ。平気よ。
I can move once night comes, I'm fine. She's fine, she says. Anyway, what are you planning for tonight?
それは家事とかよ。
I'm going to do housekeeping. The stores will be
買い物
closed.
以外をするわ。
I'll do things other than shopping. Listen, I really think you should go to a hospital. I'll think about it. She said it without pausing. Where did that extreme reluctance come from? It was as if she knew she wasn't sick. Whatever, at least I had the day off tomorrow. I can take my time talking about it. Put on sunscreen even when you're indoors. Apparently the UV rays can still sneak
分か
in.
った。
Got it. She nodded meekly. That attitude wasn't like her at all.
今度こそ海行こうよ。
This time let's go to the beach. It was my day off. Higa came to visit. Watermelon swimsuit parasol. She was carrying a beach set. I answered the door and
ルー
froze.
ちゃんと水着買いに行きたいんだけど、今いる？
I want to go swimsuit shopping with Leland. Is she here now? Sorry, the truth is, what is it? Higa looked at me puzzled. I couldn't think of a way to explain. It'd probably just be better to show her. I brought Higa into the living
何
room.
これ？
What is this? I figured that'd be her reaction. The living room had been reconfigured this morning. The curtains were shut with tape stuck over the cracks. There were no gaps for sunlight to come through. The lights were also off. The dark was as close to night as you could get during the daytime.
誰か来たの？
Is someone here? Iga came over.
リルーちゃん寝てた？
Are you sleeping,
少し
Leland?
だけ。何かよ。
A little. Why are you here?
海水浴行こうよ。水着買って海で泳ごう。
Oh, let's go swim in the ocean. Let's buy you a swimsuit and go to the beach. Iga's voice pointlessly echoed around the living room. I should have told her earlier that this was how it
海
was.
には行けないわ。
I can't
どう
go.
して？
Why not?
私はもう昼間に外へ出られないから。
I can't go outside during the daytime anymore. Leland explained it herself. Due to the seriousness of the conversation, Higa stopped talking. Then she dropped the beach set she was carrying and spoke in a natural tone
私も
voice.
行くのやめた。
Then I won't go
は
either.
い。
What?
今日はお茶しよう。金城くんも呼んでさ。週末はこっちにいるはずだし。
Let's have tea today. I'll call Kaneshiro. We'll bring the weekend here.
随分と急なのね。
This is very
思い
sudden.
ついた日にやれって本に書いてあったよ。
I read some book that said you should do things the day they occur to
悪い
you.
ことが起きないといいんだけど。
I guess it's okay as long as nothing bad happens. With that, she really did call Kaneshiro. It turned into a noisy tea party. Kaneshiro seemed surprised when he was informed about the situation, but he didn't push for details. But since he was encouraging Higa to start her own chirp account, he seemed to be concerned in his own way. With that, it was easier to stay in contact even with someone who couldn't go out during the day. We made promises to go stargazing and check out haunted spots together. We all thought of things we could do without going out during the day. It was late when we broke up, and the house was suddenly quiet.
ヒカル、ごめんね。
Hikaru, I'm sorry. What do you have to apologize for? Nuclear
喧
warfare?
嘩売ってる？
You want to fight? I don't want that, just
驚
surprised.
いてないで聞いて。今回のは完全に私のせいだから。
Don't be, this time it's completely my fault. What
海
is?
水浴に行けなくなったこと。
That we couldn't go swimming at the beach. And why would I care about that? I was bullied at my aunt's house until a year ago. It was a life with no luxuries. Even now I had no savings. Swimming at the beach was a rich man's pastime, and it didn't bother me not to do it.
けれど、私は対等でいたいの。私の不自由で、光るまで不自由になるのは対等じゃないわ。
But I want things to be fair. It's not fair that you inconvenience yourselves because of my light sensitivity. You're overthinking it. All you need to worry about is how to get better. Those were my true feelings, no lies. But at the same time, it also glossed over some things. I was worried about work and housework, and Leland's health on top of that. It was too much. I was exhausted after only 2 days. I'd better get her to a hospital quick. Thinking that, I was suddenly struck with another thought. Yesterday and today, Leland hadn't talked about her dreams. She'd mentioned something about this before. How nightmares forewarned about disasters. Perhaps that was why Leland didn't want to go to the hospital. Could that be it? Hey Leland, I mentioned my idea. Her response was a sigh. What's with that reaction? You're hiding something, aren't
光
you?
が鋭くて驚いてるところ。
I'm amazed at how sharp you are. So no more bad dreams, and in exchange you can't go out when it's bright? Leland nodded. That's a big clue. Why didn't you tell me?
呪いは恐ろしいのよ。他者に話すと伝染することもあるの。
Curses are terrifying things. They can spread by telling someone else about them. So why not? No, I shouldn't be like that. That was a concern only Leland could have. I'd be stuck if I got cursed too. I understand why you don't want to go to the hospital. The problem is... what? I thought a bit. Even if the curse and the demon were linked together, the root of it all must be connected to the Ikigami's house. The curse appearing and the nightmares stopping at the same time would support that. Maybe the dream was a warning or prediction about the curse. I had to think seriously about magic. The idea was fantastical, but the situation was serious. But there was nothing there on Mount
なか
Nunifar.
ったわね。
Nothing. Is there any other clue? If we can do something about the cause, we can fix this, right? She didn't nod. There might not be a way to fix this. A horrible feeling ran down my spine. Let's try again one more time. There might be something this time. I kept my tone positive. Leland reluctantly agreed. I was frustrated at her attitude. I'm doing this for you. I almost said that. No, I did say it. Of course she frowned. So sorry, I said in a small voice. Calm down. What was the point of being more anxious than her? It's fine. She never complained to the end. Hold on. Okay, we're still good. We waited until the dead of night to go to the Asato house. I figured it'd be easy to break in a second time, but I was disillusioned. But I was soon disillusioned of such naivete. There was a guard in front of the
後
gate.
ろからも来てるわ。
There's someone behind us too. There were even patrolmen around. We hid in a field. Soon someone passed by very close to us. It was past midnight. Not quite time for a simple walk. They were on alert. Unlike the previous break-in, they were prepared. Did they know we had met the Ikigami? Most likely the great Ikigami had told them herself. What should we do?
山側から近づくわ。
Get closer to the mountainside. We gave up on entering through the front and tried a different approach. We approached the mountain trail that no one normally
ダ
used.
メね。こっちも見張りがいるわ。
No good, there's a guard here too. Their defense was perfect. We took refuge in an abandoned lot along the road and held a strategy meeting. Is flying the only
山から
way?
光が漏れてるけど。
What about the lights from the mountain? Above, I could see countless long and narrow beams of light. They resembled the searchlights prisons used. This wasn't just home security. Just what was this house? Leland thought. I did the same, but couldn't come up with any good
何
ideas.
してるの？
What are you doing? Huh? Someone tapped me on the shoulder from behind. I was so scared I couldn't even scream. I quickly brushed off the hand and got away from the mysterious person. Should I attack first? Get rid of any witnesses?
ごめん。驚かせちゃった？
So sorry, did I scare you? It was Higa standing there. I suddenly felt very tired. Hey, sorry, feel free to shout yourself out, and I'm glad that you got here. It's not too close to the tail end, but we've got about half an hour or so left of at least stream. Not so sure about the story here, though. Let's see. I was so scared I thought I was gonna die.
本当にごめんね。こんなところで何してるのかなって思って。リルーちゃんも一緒だし。
I'm really sorry, I just wondered what you were doing in a place like this with Leland. We do have a certain reason actually, but what are you doing at this hour,
先
Higa?
輩、遺品整理が終わらなくてさ。疲れたら家の周りを歩いてるの。
Taking a walk. This estate sale is never ending. When I get tired, I take a walk around the house. Now that you mention it, your grandmother's house is just a bit farther. The light bulb clicked on above my head. Higa, did you ever hear anything about the Asato family from your grandmother? Didn't she serve them?
そうだけど、私、昔のことは本当に何も覚えてなくて。
But how are you doing, Starry? Let's see. It was a long time ago, so I really don't
調
remember.
べてるの？
You doing some research? I looked at Leland and we nodded to each other. It's a bit complicated, but
夢で池上様の屋敷を？なんで？
you dreamed of the great Ikigami's house, but why?
それを確かめに来たのよ。入れないけど。
Yeah, okay, kinda read that. Misread that. There was no but. That's what we came to find out. We can't get in, but we can't get in.
池上様に会うつもりだったの？
You say find out, but don't you plan on meeting with the great Ikigami?
それ以外にどう確かめるのよ。前に一度会ったし、大した問題ではないわ。
Ah. You were, huh? I hope OBS was one of those because OBS seemed to have an update recently. How else can we make sure? Besides, we met them last time. It's not a big deal.
前に一度会った？
You did? I guess where the great Ikigami lives is off limits?
当たり前だよ。
Of course it is. The residence of the great Ikigami. He was called Onushi Palace, and it was one of the holy grounds. It was a location hidden on private property, all within my expectations. I heard that if you invade a holy ground, they kill you and scatter your dead body about in pieces.
そんなことはしないよ。どうして殺すの？
No, they wouldn't do that. Why would they kill you? It's just what I've heard. I didn't think they would, but just in case they
池
did.
上様に
どうしても会いたい？
Why do you want to meet the great Ikigami? Well, we don't have any other
だから
clues.
さ、私、裏道知ってるよ。
In that case, I know I know back way. Huh?
山のあっち側から入れるところがあるの。
It's somewhere that you can get in from the far side of the mountain. Have you also broken in Higa?
わかんない。記憶をなくす前に入ったのかな。知ってるんだよね。
I don't know. I think I went inside before I lost my memories. That's what I know. It was a vague answer, but it was better than having nothing to go on. Can you tell us where this path
いいけ
is?
ど、他の人には秘密だからね。
Okay, but don't tell anyone else, okay? Of course. We walked along the mountain path with Higa. We went past her grandmother's house and continued on. There was nothing past it. A road pointlessly loops the north side of the island. In terms of location, it was opposite the Osato house. Walking normally along a forgotten road, I saw an unnatural staircase carved into the mountain. When was that made? It was so weathered I might have mistaken it for an animal trail if I hadn't been told it was a staircase. There was also a rope hung across it to keep people from using it. But if anything, the rope helped us find it. Here?
大主御殿の裏側に繋がってたんだよ。土砂崩れで埋まってから封鎖されたの。
Yes, this will take you behind Onushi Palace. It was blocked off after it was buried in a landslide. So the exit was in the graveyard. I finally figured out the positioning. There wasn't any security here, just a blocked road. In the end, we were going to have to fly in, and this was the perfect entrance. The problem was the stairs were covered in underbrush. Where there was a lot of grass, there was something else that be there as well. The pit vipers are probably
だ
out.
と思う。
Probably. While I was thinking, Leland silently stepped over the rope.
何してるの？行くんでしょ？
What are you doing? Let's go. Did she value her own life at all? Okay. She wouldn't listen to me anyway. I gave up and we continued. Leland headed our ascent up the stairs. Even with a flashlight, we couldn't see in front of us. Grass rose high on either side of us, and more often than not, it hit us in the face. How long have we been climbing? I felt it must have been around an hour, but when I checked my phone, it said only 5 minutes. When I turned around, I couldn't see the base of the mountain. I couldn't see anything in the direction of the summit either. I was more afraid of the dark than the pit vipers. How far until the summit, Higa? She didn't answer. Higa, can you hear me? Silence again. Higa? Couldn't hear her footsteps. I turned around and saw the light of a flashlight about 30 feet away. She stopped moving. Leland, wait up. Higa has stopped following us.
何してるのよ？
She has? What is she doing? I don't know, but we should check on
やれば
her.
いいでしょ？
Or shall I
何してるの？
call out to her? Hey Higa, what are you doing? Even though we're in enemy territory, Leland is fine with yelling. I hope her lack of self-preservation doesn't come back to bite
何か
us.
したの？
What are you doing?
ちょっと気になるものが見えて。
I saw something that caught my
気にな
attention.
るの？
Caught your attention? There was nothing in the direction where... There you go. Good. Glad to see you remembered to shout yourself out like I told you to. Let's see, there was nothing in the direction where she was looking. It wasn't necessarily that there was nothing there, but the thick trees that grew in the space blocked any sign of people or buildings. Even when we shone our flashlights the place she hinted out, we still didn't see anything strange. Was she scared? Maybe she was joking. Then it happened. It was abrupt, as if it had been born from nothing. The grass shook, and a black shadow leapt from the mountain. It had arms, legs, and fangs, and was clearly hostile. It attacked Higa and tried to drag her down to the ground. Ah! She dropped her flashlight. We were enveloped in darkness. There was the sound of grass being crushed and insects flying away. Higa!
私は大丈夫。西目くんたちも気をつけて。
I'm alright, you guys be careful. Her voice came from the dark. A minute later, she picked up her flashlight. Oh good, she was okay.
ヒカル、私から離れないで。
Hikaru, stay close to me. Just when I was relieved, Leland grabbed the hem of my shirt. We heard intermittent sounds of grass being crushed underfoot. The threat hadn't left.
リルーちゃん、左。
Leland, to the left! At the same time that Higa yelled, Leland swung her flashlight to the left. I was pushed from behind and I fell down the stairs. I heard sounds that could rightly be called a brawl. I turned on my phone's flashlight. Leland and the creature were wrestling. This time I could get a good look. It was a bear. It was standing on its hind legs, mouth open to bite Leland's head. Why you? Leland was at a disadvantage. She was losing strength and had nearly fallen down the stairs. Yah! Just then Higa hit the bear with a flying kick. It ran away frightened and Leland fell to her knees.
大丈夫？
Are you
なん
okay?
とかね。
Somehow.
今のうちに逃げよう。
But we should run
興
now.
奮した獣は敵が死ぬまで攻撃をやめない。倒すしかないわ。
An excited beast won't stop until its foe is dead. We have to defeat it.
無茶だよ。
That's ridiculous.
やるのよ。助走をつけられる前に足止めして、あとは私がやるわ。
Maybe, but we have to. Stop it in front of me and let me handle the rest. What?
来るわよ。
Here it comes. The bear charged them both. Despite her fear, Higa did what Leland said, throwing herself at the bear with force. Because they both ran, it wasn't a one-sided battle. But when the opponents were evenly matched, the one with the high ground and they had the advantage.
リルーちゃん、まだ？
But Leland now,
ダメかも。
No, but Leland now, I can't hold on. Higo is almost crushed by the weight coming down from above her on the stairs. A little more. I didn't know when she climbed it, but Leland was in a tree. She jumped down on top of the bear from behind. One of her rings shone bright purple. The bear didn't hide its suffering. Eek.
怖い。
I'm scared.
耐えて。
Keep it up. It took about 30 seconds. Higa continued to grapple with the bear. Then the fight suddenly ended. The bear stopped it, not resisting. It leaned limply upon Higa. Was it dead? The instant after I thought that the bear melted. Wah! It ended up as something between a liquid and a gas, and naturally started dripping onto the ground. Soon it disappeared without a trace.
なんで？リルーちゃん何をしたの？生き物を溶かす魔法？
What was that? Leland, do you have magic that melts living things?
魔力を吸い取っただけよ。
No, I just sucked the mana out of
魔
it.
力を吸い取ったら溶けちゃうの？
Doing that made it
普通
melt.
の生き物は溶けないわ。妙な魔力を感じたから吸い取ってみたんだけど。
Normal living things wouldn't, but I thought I felt a strange magic, so I tried it. Our nerves from being attacked gradually settled down. Yeah, that's what it said. And so Leland's confusion passed onto me and Higa like a contagion. Even she didn't know what she did.
魔力だけで構成された生き物。死んだら消える。実体がない。
A beast made up only of mana that disappeared when it died and didn't have a body. A magic beast. Magic beast. A magic beast? What? A minute. Wasn't it a bear?
魔力を吸い取って消えたのなら魔獣ね。魔法で作られた獣。
It disappeared when the mana was sucked out, so that means it's a magic beast, an animal made out of mana. Those don't exist in Okinawa.
いるんだから仕方ないでしょ。どこから来たか知らないけど。
Well, it was here, so deal with it. I don't know where it came from, though. Don't say that so lightly. What? Wait, does that mean there could be more of
可能
them?
性はあるわね。
That is a possibility. This is just too much. My daily life and common sense are being broken. Was this kind of thing here a long time ago, Higa? Did your grandmother ever mention anything like this, Higa?
ごめん。
Oh, sorry. She was making a difficult expression and holding her hand to her forehead. You didn't get hurt in that fight, did you?
違うと思う。血は出てないから。
I don't think so. I'm not bleeding. Maybe you hit your head
見
somewhere?
つけたつもりはないんだけど。
I was trying not to. She stumbled and grabbed onto a nearby tree. Her face was pale. It'd be difficult to say nothing was wrong. Her condition seemed to be worsening. It was no doubt a result of several events, but it was hard to see what was going on in this deep darkness. Leland, we have to take Higa to a
仕
hospital.
方ないわね。
I guess we have to. After I checked to make sure she wasn't bleeding, Leland put her on her back. By the light of the flashlight, we made our way down the mountain. Everything about the Ikigami had slipped from my mind. I was in fear of another kind of monster. That was the only thing keeping me from moving. There was only one doctor on the island. We visited his house to ask him to look at Higa. Of course, I didn't say anything about magic beasts. When he asked what happened, I just told him she fell down the mountain path. There were no visible wounds, but the possibility of a head injury couldn't be ruled out. Go to the big hospital first thing in the morning. That was what he told me. We couldn't leave her alone, so we took her back to my house. By this time, she didn't respond when I talked to her. Her fading in and out of consciousness seemed ominous. She didn't have any external wounds, but wouldn't you call her condition critical? Those were my thoughts, but in any case, I'd have to wait for morning. I laid Higa on the sofa to sleep and finally rested. It was 2 a.m. It was like I wasn't sleepy. Were there a lot of magic beasts where you grew up, Leland?
それなりね。魔力の吹き溜まりから湧くのよ。
To a certain degree, they come from places where magic accumulates. How odd, I've never heard of
私
that.
は普通だと思ってたけど。
I thought it was a normal thing. What kind of place were we talking about exactly? One where magic was everywhere. While people might talk about exploring the world nowadays, there wasn't really anywhere left undiscovered. I thought that we were all from Africa in some complicated way, but now I might have to reconsider. Just where was Leland from? Even supposing that she came from some faraway country, why exactly would magical animals and like be in Japan? No, whether it was Japan or Africa, those kinds of things shouldn't exist. Higa derailed my train of thought with her sexy voice. I looked at her just as she was trying to get off the couch. Higa, are you okay?
どうしてここに
what am I doing here? Don't you remember we carried you here? You weren't feeling
それは
well.
覚えています。ここまで連れ帰っていただき感謝いたします。
I remember you have my humble thanks for bringing me here. Humble thanks? You fainted and I was worried.
心配をおかけいたしました。ですが、この不調は戦闘によるものではないでしょう。
I do apologize for worrying you, but my current poor condition is not the result of battle. Somehow I was getting a bad feeling about this. Are you speaking differently?
かもしれません。私自身混乱していて、何と説明すればよいのかわからないのです。
Perhaps I'm a bit confused. I do not know how to explain it.
た
Huh?
だ、少し思い出すことができました。
However, I do remember something. Remember?
私がどのような人間だったのかを。
Yes, the kind of person that I was.
こいつ、ダメだわ。
Hikaru, she's broken somewhere. I was thinking the same thing. When people's memories got muddled, they'd change personalities. This was
私はリ
serious.
ルーさんにお詫びをしなければなりません。
I would like to extend my apologies to
私
Leland.
にお詫び？
To me?
はい。私はあなたに助けていただいたにもかかわらず、あなたを拒絶しようという感情に駆られてしまいました。
Correct, even though you helped me, I was driven by a feeling of rejecting
言
you.
っている意味がわからないんだけど、
I don't understand what you're
無
saying.
礼な感情と理解しております。今一度、あなたの手を取ることができるよう、この横島な感情を殺すことを約束いたします。
I understand that this is quite a rude sentiment. I wish to once again take your hand and I promise to kill these wicked feelings. Higa, something really is wrong with you. Are you playing a part?
一つ、お話をしましょう。
Allow me to tell you a story. Knowing me, Higa told us this. It was an unfathomably long time ago. Nothing existed in the world. It was just love and chaos and hell, as well as darkness. Before long, a god was born from love and chaos, the creator called the god of light. The creator bestowed reason to the world. Fire, water, earth, air, the creator gave life to these four spirits. Thus the world was made. However, not all the gods liked this, including the ostracized god of darkness. The god of darkness created night in the world and stole half the living creatures' lives. The creatures began to sleep, giving up half their lives. The god of light and the god of darkness fought for a long, long time. This battle still continues today. But if the god of darkness ever were to win, then all living creatures would die out. Hence, we had to believe in and worship the god of light. I planned to accept whatever she told me, but this creation myth was beyond my expectations. It was a common setting for video games, the battle between light and dark. I didn't understand her intention, so I couldn't figure out how to respond. Give her a compliment? Should I tell her that was
そ
great?
の反応、やはりそうなのですね。
That's the reaction I expected. Higa continued talking, disregarding me. She was catching Leland's eye. I looked at her. She stood motionless. On her face was complete
あなたも
astonishment.
私と同じところから来たのですね。
You and I come from the same place.
そうみたいね。
It does seem that way.
断片的にですが、思い出したんです。私がこの島で祖母と暮らす以前のことを。
While my memories are fragmented, I remember my past now from before I lived with my grandmother on the island. You've recovered your memories from before the
事故
accident?
などなかったのです。
There was no accident. What?
私の父と母は車になど乗っていませんでした。それどころか、この世界にもいなかった。
My mother and father were never in a car. For that matter, they were never even in this world. Just hold
リルー
on.
さんと私は、こことは違う世界からやってきました。
Leland and I come from a different world than this one.
私たちの住んでいた地域はおそらく地球には存在しません。
Where we're from most likely isn't even Earth. Huh? Seriously? What kind of story is this? What expression should I make? How did you get
わ
here?
かりません。私は村の果てにある洞窟からここへやってきました。リルーさんはどうでしたか？
I don't know. I went through a cave on the outskirts of my village and ended up here. What about you, Leland?
私も同じよ。洞窟に入ったらいつの間にかこの島にいた。
It
この
was
洞
the
窟は異世界への入り口だったのね。
it was the same for me. I entered the cave and somehow I ended up here. The cave must be an entrance to another world. The first thing I was reminded of was Alice in Wonderland. Alice leapt into a hole and found herself in a strange country. Japan had similar stories. For example, being spirited away meant a person was taken to the world of the gods. In Okinawa, that was Nirai Kanai, another world beyond the sea, the land of the gods. Ryukyu folklore, there were many stories about gods who came from another world. Other worlds were more familiar to humanity than we think. I was taking this better than I thought I would. I'm easily buying this fantastic story.
私は村長から邪神を探すように言われてきたわ。あんたはどうなの？
My village chief told me to find a demon. What about you? Alright. We're getting close on time, not too close, but still close enough, so I'm gonna try and get through this and see how much time I have left before I decide what to do.
似ていますが少し違っています。私は魔窟に住まう神を倒そうとしていました。
Similar, but slightly different. I was supposed to defeat a god who lived in a demon's den.
それでどうして記憶がなくなったのよ。
So why did you lose your
順
memories?
を追って説明した方が良いでしょう。未だ記憶が曖昧な部分もありますが、すべてお話しいたします。
It would be best if I started from the beginning. My memory's still fuzzy in places, but I will tell you everything. And so Higa began to slowly tell us her tale. About a world in which we did not know. Sugumi's point of view. In my hometown, gods and spirits were normal to me. Praying gave you strength in the form of blessings. Magic was commonplace. It was used by nobles and priests serving in temples. This is the country where I was born and raised. One where the blessings of the gods were more important than anything else. They were regarded as part of a person's talents and determined their place in society right from birth. I was fortunate enough to be born with blessings. I received a particularly strong blessing from the god of earth, inhuman strength, and a tough body. By the time I was 10, I was even stronger than adults. My father wanted the world to know of my blessings, so he entered me into a martial arts tournament. I won. There were many adults at the tournament who boasted of their strength, but in the face of my blessing, they were like babies. Because of this, the nobles heard of me and I was asked to join the Order of Chivalry. While it was made up entirely of nobles, it would also bestow ranks upon commoners for their military prowess. Yeah. I went around with the adults and fought magical beasts everywhere we went. By the time I was 14, I had become a prominent figure among the Paladins. I saved many people. I was sure that I was using my blessing right. Then one day there was a rumor that a remote village was worshipping a dark god. They said the dark god would give the villagers magical tools if it accepted their offerings. The captain of the Paladins told me to go and exterminate it. At the time, there was nothing. I couldn't defeat it. And there was nothing I couldn't defeat, so I proudly rode out. The villagers were surprised to be visited by the Paladins. I remember that though it was a poor village, they gave me a warm welcome. When the village chief explained the town's circumstances, he was crying. The idea that we worship a dark god is incorrect. A girl must be given every 10 years or 10 years or else his rage will destroy us. Sorrowfully we send our daughters. The chief introduced the girl who was to be the offering. The girl was the same age as me. I am to become the Dark God's wife. I'll never see my family again. I cannot begin to describe my sadness. Their pitiful situation touched my heart, and I immediately made a suggestion to the village chief.
邪神の妻とやらには私を使えばいい。妻のふりをして近づき、きっと邪神を殺してしまいます。
If you need a wife for the Dark God, use me. I'll pretend, get close, and then I'll kill the demon. I had been taunted at every opportunity before, but now I was glad I was a petite woman. The village chief accepted my proposal and announced that the offering had been changed. The day of departure. Holding a torch, I entered the cave. It was a labyrinth, and no amount of light could illuminate its darkness. I was supposed to be walking along the wall, but for 1 short second my hand came away from it and I found myself in the mountains. I didn't know what had happened. I didn't sense any kind of attack or enemy. It was just a valley between mountains and the ocean. There was a narrow path that ran through the mountains by the sea. I cautiously began following it. Once I was out in the open, a crowd of old women appeared. Welcome, come closer. What the? So, she met the priestesses right now?
貴様ら、何者だ?
Alright. You devils, what are you? But from the looks of the time, I'll try and get past this story and then call it. Let's see. You devils, what are you? We are here to welcome visitors who have come from afar. You must be tired. We have prepared food and a place for you to rest. These women were not enemies. Despite my confusion, I followed them. I was confused about this place and about the Dark God. There were many things that I didn't know. We finally reached a house where I was treated to a feast. Why such a welcome? When I asked, I was told it was a rule to entertain guests from other worlds. When the meal was over, I met the woman who appeared to be the highest ranking. It was the Kiminarai.
この場所はどこか?
What is this place? Toyotoki Island, a small island floating in the ocean.
あなた方は洞窟の民ではないのか?
You are not cave dwellers? No, we have lived on this island since ancient times.
邪神に心当たりはあるか?
In that case, do you know if there's a dark god? There
それ
is.
はどこに?
Where is he? Somewhere on the island. When the time comes, he will make himself known. At that time, I didn't think anything was odd. But thinking back on it now, the Kiminarai's reception was strange. Accepting people from other worlds like normal and talking about dark
なぜ
gods.
邪神に妻など与えるのか?
Why are you giving dark gods wives? That's a custom from ancient times. You call them wives, we call them vessels. The other world sends us noble daughters and they become vessels of our god, for our god, Kuro Tezuri.
今は前の器に収まっているのだな。
Your god is in your previous vessel right now, right? That is more or less the
大
case.
船とはどういう意味か?
What do you mean by more or less? You will leave the vessel and walk upon the island. When that time comes, you will become the new vessel.
では、その時に打ち果たすとしよう。
And when that time comes, I'll kill him. As I made my bold proclamation, the Kiminari's eyes widened in surprise. You will kill him?
私は本来、 見栄となる者の代わりに使わされた騎士だ。邪神を滅ぼし、悪臭を断つために来た。
I'm a paladin who was sent in place of the original offering. I had come to kill the Dark God and put an end to this vile custom. The Kiminari said nothing. Even though I had just said I was going to kill the god she worshipped, she didn't seem upset at all. If you can, then go ahead. Her response was to the point. And so I began to live upon Toyotoki Island, while keeping an eye out for the Dark God. At that time, my caretaker was Yoshie Higa, the person who would become my grandmother. I was given the title Next Generation and lived in a house at the foot of the mountain. While the wedding preparations were being carried out, I would occasionally go out to search for the Dark God. Originally, I wasn't supposed to leave the palace, but I protested that it wasn't right to detain a paladin and obtained permission to go out. I went around the island looking into anything called a cave and searched for the shape of a dark god. However, I couldn't find a trace of anything. Around the time I was starting to doubt that there was a dark god at all, I was taken to the palace at the top of the mountain. There I met a strange old woman.
あれは一体何者だ。ただならぬ気配を感じる。
What are you? I feel an alarming aura coming from you. This is the Great Ikigami. That is the name we give the vessel of the Great Kurotezuri. Lady Kiminari, dying to explain to me. To be a vessel of a god was to become a god and oneself. Thus Ikigami, living god. About 6 months had passed. Nothing had happened during this time, but then the Dark God appeared. I don't really remember what happened. The Dark God was like a shadow. I was standing guard in front of the palace when suddenly there had been something welled up. While the Kanjuna was running, I decided to fight, because I believed the power I received from the gods would always triumph over evil. Alright.
それで邪神は倒したわけ？
So, considering that it's around the time that I like to stop, I'm gonna save it here and continue another time. Alright. I thank you all for coming. If you're watching this on YouTube and you enjoyed it, be sure to leave a like and share this with anybody else that you think might enjoy this. And if you'd like the chance to chill with me again, be sure to hit that subscribe button and bell icon to hopefully be notified of when I'll be live again. And if you're watching on Twitch, you guys know what to do. As for those of you on Twitch, I'm gonna look up somebody to raid. Okay. Might be someone live. Let's see here. Okay, it looks like somebody is live. I feel like raiding. So let's go ahead and do that. Someone else that I like to raid is also on, but I'm gonna raid the other person I saw first. Just to give you guys some different variety. They are Daisy Chioptera. They play a lot of mostly retro games, but they do play a lot of other games. And they are pretty cool. give them my regards and tell them I'll be there as soon as I can. And with that out of the way, I thank you all again for coming. Bye!